Yes, case number 246 on account of the matter of Potters versus Wells. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat.
Ms. Potter, the defendant is your former husband.
Yes, ma'am.
And your claim is for two things. First, you claim that he filed a report to Child Protective Services,
yes,
causing you some stress.
Yes, ma'am.
The second has to do with an income tax bill that emanated from the time that you and the defendant were married, that you're paying.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Wells says that he was concerned about his daughter. You have a daughter together.
Yes, we do.
And he doesn't deny that he called Child Protective Services.
Yes, ma'am, I did.
And that he pays child support, so the tax bill is yours.
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
So let's deal with those two things. Ms. Potter, when were you married and when were you divorced?
We were married May of 1996, separated in December of 99, legally divorced January of 2001.
And when was your daughter born?
She was born August 19th, 1997.
And you have visitation with your daughter?
Yes, ma'am, on the weekends.
And you pay child support?
Yes, I do, diligently.
Now, Mr. Wells, when did you call in a report to Child Protective Services and why, sir?
It was about a month ago. I noticed a change in my child's demeanor, calling me during the night, crying, saying that she did not want to be there anymore, that it was a bad place to live, they were being mean to her, which I've heard before. Taking that she's 7, probably some discipline going on over there, so you try to take that in, to occurrence. But after a week of this, and even in the mornings, I heard her and her mother arguing, and the child terribly upset before she went to school. So then that following weekend, she tells me that this gentleman over here had beat her with a belt. That,
who is this?
This is my boyfriend.
All right. Which really concerned me. Did a flip on that one, that he had took some pictures of her in her room. So I called Child Services, and I spoke with the lady, and I haven't caused them any grief in the time they've been together, haven't, interfered in their lives. And so after explaining this to the Child Services, they felt like that I should file a complaint with them. And that, needless to say, leaving the child alone at the bus stop, getting off at the bus, wandering around the neighborhood for a half an hour unsupervised, sitting on the front porch waiting in the afternoon for 15 to 20 minutes at a time without no supervision. All of these concerns came out in that.
Okay, but primarily you called because of the photographs that your daughter told you were taken
Absolutely.
of her, and the fact that she said that this gentleman disciplined her with a belt.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely.
Okay. What's your name?
It's Rob Brialt, ma'am.
Step. Last name?
Brialt?
How long have you and Miss Potter been together, Mr. Brialt?
About 1.5 years now.
And you live together?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have children?
Yes, I do. 3 of them.
And where do they live?
They live with their mom in Colorado.
And where do you and Miss Potter live?
In Cary, North Carolina.
Did you ever discipline Miss Potter's daughter?
Just once, ma'am.
And tell me about that incident.
My children were visiting me for approximately about 5 weeks, and all the girls were up in one room sleeping, or supposedly sleeping, and they're right above the TV room, where we're watching TV, and you can hear them talking all that, and yell up there a couple times, go to sleep, girls, it's getting late, go to sleep. Since the 2 of mine were obviously up there, and they're acting up, I went up there with the belt, and, spanked them, slapped, gave them a hit on the rear end, the 2 of my girls, and it would be only fair to the other 2 to not play favorites with Tatum. So she got it as well. And then they all quieted down, they all went to sleep.
Might I add, it was a swat. She didn't even cry. It wasn't a spanking.
Miss Potter.
Okay, sorry.
That's really not an issue that's before me. Okay. What's before me is your claim that he called Child Protective Services without a basis. So that's what I'm trying to get to.
Okay.
Then there's an issue of photographing your daughter. Mm-hmm. Now tell me about that. Have you photographed your daughter in her room?
What led up to that? Tatum was supposed to be upstairs cleaning her room. I yelled up, "Tatum, are you cleaning your room?" "Yes, Mommy." So Rob's like, "Well, we'll see." He took this phone, a camera phone, most of them have it. He peeked around the stairs, snapped her sitting on the floor playing when she's supposed to be cleaning her room, came downstairs, downloaded on the computer, showed me, "Tatum, come down here right now." She came down. I'm going to remember, Mommy always says she has eyes in the back of her head. I can see everything you're doing. "What's this?" She looks at it. I'm like, "You weren't cleaning your room." She's like I'm busted.
Nothing terribly wrong with taking a picture and saying, "Listen, a picture, this speaks 1,000 words, you weren't cleaning your room." But as it's relayed to her father, that doesn't sound good. Do you understand?
You're absolutely right. Tatum came home one weekend from his house, said, "Dad's going to call Child Services or something on you." I'm like, "What?" And she's all, "Yeah," and she told me why. So I get on the phone. I'm like, "What are you going to do?" Tatum's telling me you're going to do this. And he's like, "Yeah, I have a concern, my daughter." I'm like, "That's a very good concern. This is what happened."
Miss Potter, let me dispose of the first part of your claim. And I want you also
Yes, ma'am.
to listen carefully, Mr. Wells. Is this your only child?
Yes, ma'am, it is. Or I beg your pardon, I do have an older son in California.
How old?
13 years old.
Little girls sometimes are manipulative.
Absolutely.
And let me dispose of Mr. Brialt first so that he can sit down. Never discipline her child with an implement. Shouldn't discipline her child anything other than with words anyway. But you have no right to discipline her child with a belt. Period. End of discussion. You're not even her stepfather. You have no relationship to this child at all. And the fact that you wanted to be fair because you were disciplining your children, and so you wanted to be fair and your children shouldn't be angry with you, so you disciplined their child, that's ridiculous. Because there are other ways of telling the 3 little girls who were upstairs playing to be quiet because they were interfering with your television time, other than taking a belt and going upstairs and hitting them. We understand each other?
Yes, ma'am.
Sit down. He hasn't assumed the legal responsibility in any way to your daughter. Even when he does, I wouldn't let him discipline my daughter corporally. But certainly not as long as he's just your boyfriend. What kind of commitment is that?
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Angela Potter says ex-husband Michael Wells maliciously filed false charges with Child Protective Services. Angela also says Michael owes for back taxes.
So when his daughter complained to him that she was hit with a belt, that was true. And as a non-custodial parent, because he has visitation, and he's concerned that, A, some stranger in the house is hitting my child with a belt, and the mother isn't doing anything about it. And the same stranger is taking pictures of her in her bedroom, because that's the way it's presented.
Right.
He has a legitimate complaint. And I do not find that he maliciously called Child Protective Services, because you've been separated since 1999. This is 5 years later. Is this the first time he's called Child Protective Services?
Yes, ma'am.
And he had a reason to do it.
But
And I don't care whether you explained it to him or not. You can't explain to him satisfactorily that this man took a belt to your daughter. There's no satisfactory explanation for that.
Okay.
Now let's get to number 2. Let's get to the tax returns. Can I see the tax bill that you got with regard to the taxes owed?
well, here's the whole statement from 1998.
It's just a retaliation suit, ma'am, is all. She threat, as soon as Child Protection Services was contacted her, she called
Mr.
up.
Wells.
Yes, ma'am.
Listen to me very carefully, my friend.
Yes, ma'am.
Was the first part of my judgment fair to you?
Yes, ma'am.
So you think I'm a fair lady?
Yes, I do.
I don't care whether it's in retaliation or not. If she's been paying off your debt, I'm going to find out why.
Okay.
Well, this says, sir, at the time when you were still married and still together, there was a deficiency in your tax returns of almost $9,000. How much of it did you pay?
Haven't paid any of it.
Why?
Because all my tax returns goes to child support. It's mandated by the state. They take my tax returns and apply it towards state arrears in child support.
Just a second. So what you're telling me is that they take your tax refunds because you were a deadbeat father with regard to your child support, either for this child or another child.
During the arbitration of the separation, yes. I did go a period of time because Ms. Potter had...
You are a deadbeat with regard to either this child or your son.
I wouldn't call it a deadbeat.
Deadbeat doesn't pay child support as directed. That's a deadbeat.
Well, it wasn't paid until mandated by the court, ma'am. Then it has been paid every month since then for the last 5 years.
Well, arrears suggest, Mr. Wells, that the state has determined that you owed money for one child or two.
For 2 children, I paid.
For both children. So I'm going to ask you the next question, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Why didn't you start to pay her and say, listen, we have $9,000 that we owed. Clearly, half of that is mine because we were married and filed jointly. So what you're telling me is you decided that she's got to get stuck with this tax bill. Is that what you're telling me?
No, ma'am. I just thought that $9,000 was strong for one tax we filed together 1 year.
So?
And she hasn't, applied me with any documentation, has a contact.
Here, just a second. Here you go. I want him to have the documentation.
Absolutely.
Take a look.
$8,881.
That's what it says.
All right.
So, since you filed those taxes, since you were living together, were you working at that time, Mr. Wells?
Yes, ma'am. As a subcontractor at that point.
Very good. And what were you doing?
I was an executive assistant for a recruiting firm.
Okay. And so far you've paid about $7,100.
Yes, these
And
are
there's, right, I see it. And there's still $2,030 owed.
penalties and interest pretty much.
Mr. Wells, the defense that you have to this, as I indicated before, because I've read it, your defense is, as far as our taxes, my wife filed our taxes and they are in her name. That's
Yes,
what you
ma'am.
swore to. Internal Revenue Service says that you filed married filing jointly,
Absolutely.
so that is incorrect.
Yes, ma'am, it was.
You
But that was
incorrect.
the first time I'd seen that piece of paper right there.
Good. Well, I'm glad that you saw the piece of paper,
Yes,
Mr.
ma'am.
Wells, because you owe her $4,500. That's half the tax bill and penalties. Judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
Thank you.
Oh, you're excused. You may step out. Ms. Potter tries to get every little bit of money out of me she can. She always has.
All he had to do was pay off the tax. He didn't want to do that, so look what it cost him in the end.
As far as me and Ms. Potter, we will not have any kind of relationship whatsoever.
You just can't reason with him.
As long as the well-being of my daughter's taken care of.
I do the best I can as a single mom.
Carla Cardenas is suing her neighbors, Kathleen and Eddie Montoya, for the cost of vet bills. Carla says the Montoya's pit bull attacked her dog. The Montoyas are countersuing for harassment.
All rise.
Now, this is case number 354 on the calendar, the matter of Cardenas versus Montoya. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ladies, have a seat.
Ms. Cardenas, were you walking your dog when this incident happened?
No, I was not. My daughter was.
This daughter?
Yes.
Okay. Would you step up, please? Tell me your name.
Hillary.
Hillary, what kind of a dog do you have?
I'm not sure. It's just a dog.
How long have you had the dog?
I got it Christmas last year.
Do you have a picture?
I do.
I'd like to see it, please. Sweet looking, small.
Small.
Hillary, so you were walking your dog, and when did this happen?
It was on April the 19th.
Are the Montoya's neighbors of yours?
Yes.
And they have a dog?
Yes.
Had you seen their dog before? Miss Montoya,
No.
put your papers down. You've never seen their dog before?
No.
Tell me what happened when you were walking your dog.
Their dog was out by their yard, and I was walking with my dog on the other side of the street, and their dog came up and sniffed my dog, and then just started biting his neck. And
What kind of a dog do they have?
a pit bull.
Is that right?
Yes.
How old is your pit bull?
About 7 years old.
And you had vet bills, according to your complaint, of approximately $1,400.
Yes.
Can I see the vet bills and whatever other evidence you have, please?
Here are pictures of the dog's injuries.
What happened when the dog came up and started to gnaw at your dog?
One of the neighbors was trying to hit it with a shovel, and everyone was telling the dog to get off, but it just wouldn't get off, and then finally it just let go.
How's he now?
Pretty good.
Okay? How long was he in the vet?
He had to go every Saturday to see the vet, and he was at the vet overnight for surgery, and then he had to be in private care for 2 days.
Okay. All right, who's going to speak for you folks?
I guess I can.
That's fine. I'd like to hear what you have to say about this, and you also have a counterclaim. Your counterclaim is for harassment.
Correct.
Okay. So, what was your dog doing out?
I have no clue. My husband was in the hospital at the time, and me and 3 of my children were visiting him. We were actually on our way home when the attack happened. My daughter, Natalie, was the one that was home and witnessed what had happened. I only know from the time I got home what happened.
Which one is Natalie? All right, Natalie, you were home. What's your dog's name?
Rusty.
Where was Rusty?
He was across the street on the sidewalk sniffing their dog, and then their dog had bit.
How did he get there?
I have no idea.
The dog wasn't on a leash either.
Listen to me. You were in the hospital.
But the dog wasn't on a leash.
Yes, it was.
Shh. You were in the hospital.
I know that.
Good. So if you don't know what happened, I suggest you keep your mouth shut. Now, you were the one who was home.
Yes.
Why wasn't Rusty in your house?
Because we don't allow the dogs in the house.
So your dogs are outside all the time. How many dogs do you have?
We have 2.
Are they both pit bulls?
Yes, they are.
Has Rusty ever bitten anybody?
No.
Has Rusty ever attacked another animal?
No.
Did this time. Now, Miss Montoya, what makes you think that you are not responsible for these vet bills?
Because the harassment that we had to put up with her
I'm not
children-
listening to the harassment yet. I'm asking you about the vet bills. Why
That is-
do you think you
Well,
are not...
because her dog was out also. It was at our end of the street. It snapped at my dog first, and my dog retaliated.
A, you don't know that. And B,
My daughter witnessed it. I do know that.
Oh, just 1 second. Your dog went across the street. That's what you just told
That's
me. Is
where
that
her
right?
dog was at.
No. Listen to. I know that's where her dog was at.
Her dog was out without a leash. She was at her friend's house.
Listen to me. Did you just tell me that your dog went across the street to where her dog was?
Yes.
I'm going to take it down a level. Miss Montoya, let me explain something to you. You and I both know, and everybody knows, that a pit bull can cause a great deal of damage because of the configuration of their jaw. Correct?
Correct.
All right. You, therefore, have a responsibility that you are an insurer that your dog is not out of the control of you, your husband, your children, somebody at all times. Do we understand? Listen to me. I'm speaking. If you keep an animal that is potentially dangerous in your home, and you choose not to keep that animal in your house because you don't want it to mess up your house, you are an insurer, because your answer to this complaint is somebody must have let the dog out of the gate.
Correct.
And therefore, it's not my fault because somebody did it. And as long as somebody did it, and it wasn't me because I'm in the hospital and my daughter doesn't know whether she is a foot or horseback, it's not my fault. Well, I'm telling you, from a legal perspective, it is your fault. You are an insurer that this dog that is potentially deadly does not get out, because it could just as easily have been a 3-year-old child that was across the street that your dog decided to attack. as opposed to a small dog that your dog decided to attack. Did you have brain surgery, sir? Did you have brain surgery?
Pretty much.
Well, then maybe that's the problem. Why don't you try opening up, putting on your listening ears and listen? When you keep a pit bull, you have a responsibility to ensure that that dog does not get loose. And if it does get loose, I'm speaking. And if it does get loose, you pay the consequences. So you're going to pay them $1,400 for their medical bills. Now, if you're, I'm speaking. And if your complaint is that after you refused to pay the medical bills for their dog that was injured really seriously, that their daughter decided to harass your daughter, I would have paid the $2. Do you understand?
Yes.
We never knew nothing about the bill, those two, about a month and a half later.
Right. Carla,
we tried to contact the mother, and the mother was never available to come to the door. The daughter would say, my mom's busy, my mom's not here. So we tried a month and a half to get a hold of her. I was in a wheelchair and went down to her house to contact her, and they told me that she wasn't available.
One time.
That she wasn't available. So how were we ever supposed to communicate with the parent?
Try the U.S. Postal Service. Try the U.S. Postal
Like I
Service.
said, my dog can go free. My dog don't bother nobody. The kids, it's never been a kid. It pays with kids all the time. So how can you sit here and tell me my dog is dangerous?
Let me tell you why, sir. Because in the last week, I've handled 3 pit bull cases.
Those are those pit bulls. Those ain't my dogs.
No, this is, well, listen to me, sir. This is your pit bull.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Carla Cardenas claims her neighbor's unleashed pit bull attacked her dog. Kathleen and Eddie Montoya claim Carla's dog was also unleashed.
You are an insurer. If you have
See
a
what
dog...
that dog was doing way down the street without a leash in front of my house in the first place.
It had 9 houses.
Listen to me. You're never going to get anywhere. He's never going to get it.
I do get it. I understand both dogs.
He's never, listen to me, it's sad, but he's never going to get it. His wife appears to be slightly more intelligent, not necessarily her, but the wife appears to be slightly more intelligent, and perhaps she can get the fact that when you have an animal, you have a responsibility to see...
It.
I didn't speak to you. I'm speaking to your wife. Be quiet. Everybody else in your family may be afraid of you. I guarantee you, sir. I guarantee you, sir, I do not quiver in my boots in your presence.
You're not supposed to.
Good.
You're not supposed to.
You have a responsibility to see to it that no harm comes to any other living creature, human or otherwise, as a result of your animal. And you chose to leave your dog outside. A small child may have come by and opened up the gate, may have unhooked the lock. That's possible. That's not an act of God. That's something that you are responsible for. And between you paying the $1,400 for the vet bill and then paying $1,400 for the vet bill, the responsibility is yours. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,400. And I assume that if you had taken care of this responsibility immediately, there wouldn't have been any harassment that resulted. So your counterclaim dismissed.
Before we got the paperwork.
Out.
Parties are excused. You may step back.
That little dog snapped at my dog. My dog did get aggressive. Say if somebody punched you in the face, you're gonna punch him back, right?
I'm glad, because my dog was really badly hurt.
Her kids come by flipping us off and flipping off the neighbors, and you know, it's a bunch of nonsense, chaos.
Every time the dad would see me walking down the street, he would tell his daughter to go beat me up, and I would always just try to walk away.
They were telling us to hit them, so we ended up hitting them. They were all up in our face and stuff, so we're going to do what we have to do.
It wasn't just over my dog, it was over a lot of things.
My daughters have been in fights with other neighborhood children, and her oldest daughter, they physically fought, and it's just a mess.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Ortega versus Gutierrez. Step forward.
Computer technician Netza Ortega is suing his ex-girlfriend, 26-year-old customer service rep Maribel Gutierrez, for unpaid loans to get her hair done and for the return of a promise ring.
Oh, Mr. Ortega. The romance is over. You want your jewelry back, and you want some money that you loaned to the defendant while you were together.
That's correct.
Ms. Gutierrez says you often gave her money. There was never any mention of a payback. And the jewelry you want back were gifts that you made to her, and you're not entitled to them back.
I feel that it's entitled back to me because they were actually a symbol of a relationship.
All right, let's take the simple ones first. The loan. When do you claim, and what year did you make her the loan?
June of this year, and it was to get her hair done, and it was for $50.
What's next,
Okay,
Mr. Ortega?
after that, it was another loan for $50 to get her hair done.
Get over it,
And then after that, it was another $40, and that was...
to get her nails done?
No.
Manicure, pedicure.
No, that was actually
facial,
to get her...
leg wax. Whatever. Let's get to the jewelry.
Okay, the jewelry was given to her in April.
Did she go shopping with you for the jewelry?
No.
You went by yourself?
I went by myself.
And you went to a store and you picked out what kind of jewelry?
A promise ring. It was a butterfly made of diamonds.
What else?
And then a month later, after I paid off the ring, I got her a matching pendant that went with it.
How much did you pay for all this?
About $325 total.
325.
Yes.
So we're not exactly talking the Hope Diamond here.
No.
Is that right? Mr. Ortega,
Yes.
is this your first girlfriend?
No, it's not.
How many girlfriends have you had?
I've had about 4.
Did you buy them gifts?
I bought them gifts.
And then you broke up with them?
Yes.
Did they give you back the gifts?
No, because I didn't ask them for those because they weren't actual agreements. The promise ring was an agreement that we would stay in a monogamous relationship. And now that it's over, I deserve that. I should get it back.
Do it 1 second.
Miss Judy?
Just 1 second. When you gave her the ring, what did you say to her?
I said, this is a promise that we would stay in this relationship.
You made her a promise?
Yes.
That's nice.
And she agreed to take it.
Mr. Ortega.
Yes.
Grow up, sir. You're dying to say something.
Yes, I am.
Go ahead.
We made a promise that he would stop drinking, doing drugs, and I accepted the gift if he would stop doing drugs and drinking. He did not. Accidentally, I don't know what happened to the gift. It
No,
got
that's
lost.
not true.
Listen to me. You were better off without opening your mouth.
Okay.
You were better off just standing there and looking gorgeous. Mr. Ortega.
Yes.
Get over it. Put a period. Move on.
Okay.
If you want a ring that comes back to you, you buy a diamond.
It was
Now,
diamond.
listen to me. No, not a butterfly. Not a butterfly, Mr. Ortega. You buy a single diamond and you have it set in a very nice setting, and then you say, I want you to marry me.
I
Will you-
did.
Listen to me. I'm speaking.
At one point, no, I
I'm
did.
speaking.
Okay.
Will you marry me? This is an engagement ring.
We were
not
engaged.
a promise ring. I don't care if you were engaged or not. Listen, I've gotten engaged without a ring, too. Once or twice. A ring, the solitaire, Mr. Ortega, not a butterfly.
Actually, it was a princess cut.
Bye, Mr. Ortega.
He was using drugs.
I treated her well.
I have a 2-year-old son. I'm not going to deal with this.
Total lies. I totally respected her and her son.
Didn't want me to talk to my friends.
Not at all. I would let her go out and do her thing with her friends.
He used drugs and not remember anything he would tell me. He was always verbally abusive to me, and I'm not going to take that because I have a 2-year-old son, not from him. So, I mean, I'm not going to deal with that.
Nursing student Angela Nemechek is suing her biological daughter, 17-year-old Jessica Simons, and Jessica's adoptive sister, Kathy Brooks, for the money she spent when Jessica came to live with her. Jessica and Kathy are countersuing, claiming Angela stole Jessica's Social Security checks.
All rise. This is case number 449 on the calendar, the matter of Nemechek versus Brooks Simons. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Looks like a lot of witnesses here for a relatively simple case. Miss Nemechek?
Yes.
I assume that this is Jessica?
Yes.
According to your complaint, you are Jessica's birth mother.
Yes.
And Jessica was adopted by a family when she was 4 years old.
Yes, Your Honor.
You are her sister,
Yes.
adoptive sister,
Yes.
and both of her adoptive parents passed away, unfortunately, from illness. For a period of time, she was staying with you.
Yes.
And then, Ms. Nemechek, Jessica decided that she wanted to come and live with you.
Yes.
And she did for a short period of time.
Yes, Your Honor.
3 months, 4 months?
2.5 months.
That was
And during-
3.5 months.
3.5 months. And during that time, you purchased some clothing for her and had other expenses.
Yes, Your Honor.
Then there was a falling out.
Yes,
And
Your
she
Honor.
went back to her sister's home.
Correct.
She and her sister came and got all this stuff that you had purchased for Jessica.
Yes.
And you want to be compensated for that.
Yes.
You're Miss Brooks?
Yes.
You have a counterclaim on behalf of your sister because you have guardianship of her now.
Correct.
And that is for reimbursement from the Social Security checks
Correct.
that was sent to Miss Nemechek. And you want that money back because you say that was hers to spend.
Correct.
Ms. Nemechek, how old was Jessica when she was adopted?
4.
And did you have contact with her from age 4 to age 17?
Yes, I did.
When?
Periodically. Periodically. I had phone calls with them. I've been seeing them. Me and their godmother, the one that adopted them, was really good friends. That's the reason why I let her adopt them, was because of my sickness that I do have, and currently still have.
Is that a physiological or a mental illness?
Physiological and mental.
Did you support your daughter over the years with money?
When I seen them at times, I did when I could financially afford it.
I'm talking about regular support.
No.
When your daughter came to live with you, I assume that either you weren't getting along with your sister, is that right?
Well, I just wanted to go live with my mom. I just wanted to get to know her. I wanted to have a mother-daughter relationship with her.
Do you approve of that?
At first, no, because of all the problems that we have had with Angela.
What kind of problems?
She would call their schools when my parents were alive, trying to get them out of school. Jessica and I are, we do fight a lot, and I think we do because you don't go from being a sister to trying to be a mother. And, you know, when someone is, 14 years old, our relationship changed because...
Were you married when your parents died?
Yes.
You have children?
I have 3 children.
And you took your sister to live with you?
I took both of my sisters to live with me.
And this was the older sister?
Yes.
Is that right? She take good care of you?
Yes. I love her. You know, she's my sister. When Jessica came to me and told me she wanted to know Angie, sorry.
Would it be better if I asked you questions?
No, I need to say this because it's important. I don't know what it's like not knowing your parents. So who was I to tell Jessica that she couldn't get to know her biological mother? Unfortunately, Angela, in the whole time since my parents have had Venus and Jessica and their older brother David, my parents adopted 3 of her children so they could stay together. She never could step up to the plate and act like an adult and knock on my door and say, hey, Kath, you know, I'm sorry your parents died. I really want to help. I really would like to get to know my daughter.
She would sneak around and see us, basically.
So it was very hard for me to let Jessica go, but I spoke with Jessica all the time. You know, she gets a death benefit from my parents. That's what she has left of my parents.
What did you do with your death benefit, Jessica?
I signed the money over to my mother so she can put it in her bank. And she said she would save the money for me so I can buy a car.
Did you do that, Ms. Nemechek?
I did put that money in the bank. I put it in my savings account, and Jessica kept asking me for money, and I kept taking it out of my savings account and giving it to her. I do have proof of that.
How much in the 3 months that she was there? You got 3 checks?
I got 2.
How much were they for?
$931 a each.
One was $931, one was $731, and that was it.
How much did she get?
$931 each a month, and it was a total of $2,700 and some odd dollars that was given to her from her death benefit.
Well, let's say, for argument's sake, it was about $2,000. When your daughter decided to go back, how much of the money that she turned over to you did you return to her or put in a savings account in her name?
She had none. She had taken that all out with withdrawals.
How could I?
Just a second.
Okay.
Let us assume that that's true. Who are you suing and for what?
The money that the 2 checks that she received, that Kathy had gave her, we gave her more money besides that.
You're her mother. Who's supposed to take care of
I signed my rights over. I signed my rights over.
Then Ms. Nemechek,
she's getting a check, Ms. Kathy Brooks.
I'm speaking.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Adoptive sister Kathy Brooks for money she spent on Jessica's behalf. Angela says Jessica lived with her for 3 months when her adoptive parents died.
If you don't want to be her mother, then you say, I'm sorry you can't come to live with me. But when you buy her clothes, things that you should have been buying for her for 17 years, and she decides, I am speaking, and you give it to her, that is a gift. You don't get that back. You get to say, I'm sorry it didn't work out. I know I wasn't much of a parent to you when you were growing up. I know that you had lovely parents. Fortunately, I wasn't there for you. This little bit is my small bit, aside from the fact that you got a couple of $1,000s that you spent, because $100 here and $100 there over 3 months don't come out to $2,000.
I have all my proof.
I don't care what you have. What you don't have, clearly, is a conscience. You're supposed to do the right thing.
You have no idea what I went through in the past 17 years with
That's
these
not,
people.
listen to me. Whatever happened to you over 17 years, you visited on yourself, and you also visited on your children. Because whatever problems you had, you decided to have children. They didn't make that choice. You made that choice.
Yes,
so quite frankly, nobody is interested in what you went through over 17 years. That's your problem. You visited your problems on innocence. And when you do that, you don't get sympathy. And when you do that...
The reason why I gave up my kids is because I have leukemia. I was told I had 2 years to live.
Listen to me very carefully. If God blessed you and said, while you had 2 years to live, here you are, 15 years later, still alive and kicking, then what you do if your daughter comes back to you and you've given her a couple of $1,000s in clothes that you didn't take care of over her entire growing up years, and you decided to do it,
Your
and
Honor,
if it didn't
I did
work
buy
out,
her clothes in between those 17
Ms.
years.
Nemechek, quite frankly, I find your behavior bizarre. Absolutely bizarre. If you suffer from an illness, and if you're giving me that as an excuse for giving up your children, despite the fact that years later you're still here, and if you had the unique opportunity of getting to know your children again, then you don't terminate that by suing them. That's stupid
I'm
and
not suing
amoral.
my daughter. I'm suing the person that supposedly gave her money that she never gave her.
That has nothing to do with you. It's not your money. It's not your money. It's Bird's money. It's the citizens' money. It's not your money. Now, but for the fact, Miss Brooks, just a second. Don't move.
Walk up here?
No, I don't need them. I said there are an awful lot of witnesses here for a relatively simplistic case. There's nothing that I don't understand that I have to have
But there's a
made
lot more
clear.
to this case, Your Honor. It's not just about the money.
Well, if it's not just about the money, you're in the wrong place. Go to a psychiatrist. Because that's what I'm here for. I'm here about the money. That's what courts are for. Other than that, you can go find Dr. Phil someplace. He'll be more than happy to hear you. Now, shh, Ms. Brooks, but for the fact that Ms. Nemechek brought this action against you, would you have counterclaimed for the money that Jessica gave her?
Yes, we actually already hired an attorney to help us write up the complaint against Ms. Nemechek. I also have a letter from our bank stating that Jessica's death benefit did come out of her account.
Well, let me see the letter from the bank. How long do you receive the death benefits for, Jessica?
Until I'm 18 and out of school, high school.
Well, this letter indicates, Ms. Nemechek, that there were 3 checks, all in the amount of $931.
Well, all I have here is a deposit on August 9th for $731.
That doesn't mean that you didn't get $931.
And then I
That
have
means
a
that they-
deposit here
I'm
on
speaking.
September.
I'm speaking. Death benefits don't change by $200. So that means that you may have deposited $731 and taken $200 in cash.
I don't recall that, Your Honor.
Well, if you don't recall, that's why I have this from the bank. So 931 times 3 is $2,793. What'd you do with it?
Right here.
Oh, let me see it. Perfect. What's Sprint?
That's a cell phone bill.
$122?
Yes.
Get it. I don't know what this is. This is nothing. White Fox Den, $28. What's that for?
That's food.
Food?
Food.
Oh my God.
Walgreens. Sunglasses. 3 pairs of sunglasses. Shampoo. What's that for?
It's for Jessica.
Ms. Nemechek, I think you're a bad lady. And I believe your daughter when she said she was going to take these checks and put them in an account for her. And the purpose of that account was that when she got to be old enough, she was going to be able to buy a car for herself. I believe you told her that, and I believe that you then went through your trash can and picked out receipts that you decided for your home, for you and your husband and whoever else lives there, that the government was going to be responsible for. If you supported your daughter yourself for 3 months and you've given her no other support her whole life, you ought to thank God that somebody took care of her for the 14 years that you didn't. Judgment for the defendant on the counterclaim in the amount of $2,793. Your claim is dismissed. That's all.
All these other series, you may step out.
I wouldn't let her have custody over me, and that's just a way of revenge for her, I guess. Killing her own daughter.
I have one daughter here. She's the one I'll help because I know she never screws me like the other one did.
She was just doing everything behind everybody's back.
My son Scott, she came to his school and asked him to go and do drugs with her.
I'll see her in the next court on that one.
She does need professional help. Definitely, she does.
Maybe later on in life, if I'm not dead, then she can come around. But then again, my husband don't want her ever around.
I think it's ridiculous. I have nothing to do with her anymore.
Receptionist Kalita Thompson is suing the father of her child, truck driver Demetrius Webb, for filing a false restraining order, the return of personal belongings, and unpaid daycare expenses. Demetrius is countersuing for the return of jewelry and for moving expenses.
Yeah, this is case number 460 on the calendar, the matter of Thompson versus Webb. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Ms. Thompson, Mr. Webb used to be your boyfriend. And correct. He also is the father of a child that you have, a boy?
Correct.
According to your complaint, while you were living together, Mr. Webb filed false domestic violence charges against you, causing you to be taken into custody. While you were in custody, is your claim that he took property that belonged to you from the house, which was your house.
Correct.
And in addition, he committed himself to paying for 1/2 of your son's daycare.
Correct.
Which he has not done.
Correct.
Mr. Webb says that he rightfully filed an application for a protective order because you attacked him, that he took nothing from the apartment that was not his, and in addition, he says that you made the home environment unsafe, causing him to move, and he wants moving expenses. Right?
Correct.
All right, Ms. Thompson, how old is your child?
He's 3 years old.
And when did you and Mr. Webb move into this house together?
About a year and a half ago.
Was it your house?
Yes, it is.
Is it a house, an apartment, a rental? What is
It's
it?
a rental.
How long have you lived there?
It's been 2 years in November.
So he moved in with you?
Mm-hmm.
After the baby was born?
Yes.
And your name is the only name on the lease?
Correct.
Tell me about the allegations of domestic violence. When did he file those charges?
On November 3rd.
Of 2004?
Correct.
Tell me about the incident that sparked that.
Okay. On November 3rd, I had just came back from school, And I was laying down in the bed, and he came home because we had been arguing a couple of days before the 3rd. And I had told him before the 3rd that, you know, we're not getting along. We need to go our separate ways and make some type of arrangements with our son, Derek. Well, on November 3rd, while I was laying down and he came home, he was like, do you still want us to go our separate ways? And I said, yeah. He goes, well, you're going to be out the house before I am. And I said, no, what are you talking about? He's like, you're going to be out the house before I am. I said, oh, you must have went down and filed a restraining order against me. He didn't say anything.
What would make you think that?
Because we have been arguing all since the end of October.
Well, arguing and restraining
Arguing
order.
and fighting.
What do you mean fighting? You mean physically fighting?
Physically fighting.
Okay, that's different. Arguing and physically fighting are two different things.
Right.
Where I grew up, right? Where
Right.
you grew up too?
Right.
You're arguing, you have an argument. You say, no, that's the wrong thing to do. That's an argument. Fighting is using your hands, weapons,
Correct.
something else. So you were physically fighting.
Correct.
Who was fighting with whom?
He was fighting with me.
Is that right?
No.
Okay, so
Okay, so what? Well, I'm asking you a question. Did you put your hands on him?
no, I've never put my hands on him.
Well, when you say physically fighting, explain the physical part of the fighting that was taking place.
Well, in
2
the
weeks before.
bathroom, there was an incident in the bathroom where he took my car keys, wouldn't allow me to take our son to the daycare. He had came home early that morning wanting to take our son to the daycare. At first I said fine, but then he started disrespecting me in front of my son, so I said, no, you're not taking our son to the daycare. So then he took my car keys and went upstairs. While he was going upstairs, he went inside the bathroom. I went to try to get my car keys from him, and he put his arm up against my neck, wouldn't allow me to.
How did you try to get your car keys from him?
Try to snatch him out of his hands.
So you were grabbing and touching him to try to get your keys.
Correct.
And he wouldn't give them to you.
Right.
So who put their hands on who first?
He put his hands on me.
No. You put your hands on him first.
Well, I grabbed the keys, I mean.
How do you grab the keys from somebody? I don't understand that. The keys are in his hand.
Right.
And what do? You
I
grab-
went forward, reached for the keys. He jerked back, and I said, give me my keys. Went for the keys again. He jerked back, and he's like, you're not taking Derek nowhere. And I said, yes, I am, too. I'm taking him to the daycare, and I'm going to work. And then that's when he pushed me up against the bathroom door.
What happened on November 3rd, Mr. Webb?
On November or before November? Well,
When you filed a restraining order, when was that?
November 3rd.
Can I see what you said in the restraining order, please? Okay, this is what you say. You say on November 2nd, which was the date of the abuse, sir, according to you, she did something to you at your house. I want you to tell me what it is that she did.
Okay. The reason why we were fighting is because I found her prescription for Valtrex.
Your Honor, that is not even relevant.
I found her prescription.
That is not why we were fighting.
Listen to me. Don't interrupt him. You explain to me your version of why you were fighting.
Okay, that's fine.
He didn't interrupt.
I'm sorry.
You filed this case and you said he made false allegations against you and you want to be compensated for that.
Correct.
So I have to make a determination. Do you understand?
Yes.
Good. Go.
Okay. I found a prescription bottle for Valtrex, and I didn't know what it was. I looked it up on the internet and found out that Valtrex is for herpes. So I found out, I assumed that from the prescription or what it was for, that she had herpes. And
Which
this,
she gave to me.
and this I didn't know nothing about.
Okay.
So I confronted her with it, and that would cause the arguments and the fights.
Ms. Thompson, I don't know whether I would have added this to my complaint, these allegations, because this
He's
is
lying.
Well, this is his version of what
Right.
you were fighting about.
Right.
Well, I
That's
have
not
proof.
what we were fighting about.
I have proof.
No, it's not. That's not what we were fighting about. We were fighting because of domestic violence abuse. That's what we were fighting about.
Well, that starts off with something, you know.
That's because he was out going around sleeping around. It wasn't me sleeping around. It was him that was sleeping around.
Well, that's possible, you see. That's possible. But domestic violence starts from an argument over something.
Correct.
So I would not have broached this issue and put it in a complaint if I were in your position, because there were certain things that are embarrassing, and quite rightfully you don't want them aired. But you brought this case.
That's right.
All right, totally up to you. If you want to withdraw that part of your complaint and just proceed with the stuff that you say you took, I'll be more than happy to drop this part of your complaint and we can move forward. It's up to you. What do you want to do?
I don't want to drop that.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Thompson says the father of her child, Demetrius Webb, made false complaints to the police in order to get a temporary restraining order. Demetrius claims he was in fear for his life.
Okay, now I know what you were arguing about, sir.
Yes.
I just want you to tell me what you alleged she did to you on November 2nd, that you swore to the judge she did on November 2nd, which allowed the judge to issue a temporary restraining order.
Okay, well, she threatened to wreck my car.
That's not true.
I don't want... Go ahead.
She threatened to wreck my car, and while I was holding my son, she threw things at me. She threw glasses, a can of beer.
Listen to me, sir. You got to be very, very careful what you tell me, because according to what I read, that didn't happen on the 2nd of November. That, according
that
to
was
you,
wrong.
happened in October.
No, that was one incident. There were several.
I asked you what happened on November 2nd.
The 2nd of November, she also threw things at me, and she attempted to snatch my son out of my arms.
You say she punched me in the face. You
Yes,
got that?
and I'm getting to that.
Well, get there, sir.
She punched me in the face while I was holding my son.
And she scratched you,
Yes.
according to you. All right. Did you have a trial on this protective order?
No, we didn't have a trial.
What happened with it?
He motioned for it to be dismissed.
Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Why?
Because I was out of the home and I was no longer in danger. So there was no need to continue to restrain an order because I wanted her to see her son.
Let me ask you this question, Mr. Webb. According to what I read here, and by the way, there's nothing contained in this police write-up about you being punched in the face or scratched. But according to what I read, you went and filed the restraining order the day before she was arrested, correct?
Yes.
So that when you went home on November 3rd, you knew that you had already filed for a restraining order.
Yes.
So the day before, you went in to file for a protective order saying, I'm in imminent danger. That's what you said.
Yes.
And what I don't understand, Mr. Webb, is then you went home. You see, if I went to file for a protective order and I was in imminent danger from somebody, I wouldn't go home to where I knew they were living. Why did you go home on the 3rd?
Okay, because they told me they were going to serve her at work, and she came home early that day. I went home. I was going to get some belongings and leave before she got home. She was home unusually early that day.
And when did you discover she was at home?
When I got there.
Was her car there?
Yes.
Well, if her car was outside, sir, then you knew she was home.
Yes.
Then what did you go inside for?
I went inside to get some belongings.
Well, Mr. Webb, what I'm saying to you, sir, is if I were afraid for my life and my safety, I would say, I'm going to wait until they serve this lady. I'm not going to go inside. She came home early. Maybe she got a headache. I'm not going to go inside to where she's at now because I'm afraid. If I were really afraid. If it wasn't a ploy to get a little one-upmanship. Now, let me understand something. After she was arrested, how long did you stay in jail?
Not in jail. I was restrained from my house for 7 days.
So you were out of the house for 7 days.
Correct.
Where was your son?
I had my 2 oldest sons with me, and the youngest one was with him because he said that I would put my youngest son in danger or had some anger management problem.
Okay. And then you went into court, sir, and you withdrew the protective order after 7 days. Is that right?
Yes.
You mean in 7 days you got back together, you discussed things nicely with each other?
No, because the danger was in the home. I wasn't in the home anymore. I was moved out.
So this protective order that you filed, sir, the purpose of it was to allow you to peaceably move out of your home. Is that what you're telling me?
No, the purpose of it was allow me to move out of my home without being attacked.
No, the purpose.
Just a second. I said to move out of your home peacefully.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Well, then you were abusing the system, sir.
No, I wasn't.
No, because that's not what you wrote here. It's not what you told the judge. If you had said in your moving papers, listen, we've been fighting. I just want to be able to get my things and move out of the house without any problem. Judge would have said, fine, I will give you an order that says that you, in the company of a police officer, may go home, remove your personal property, and leave. That's not what you said here. You said you were in danger,
Because
your son was in danger.
In the time when I got the restraining order, I wasn't even planning on moving.
Let me tell you something, sir. When you get a restraining order, common sense dictates that if you are in fear for your safety and well-being, you don't file for a protective order on November 2nd, go home on November 2nd, go home on November 3rd, and then 7 days later withdraw the application once you've moved out. I know exactly what you did. Now, has anybody ever filed for a protective order against you?
Yes.
And who was that?
My ex-wife.
In what year?
In 1990, like 99.
And what happened with that protective order? Was she granted an order of protection or was it dismissed?
Dismissed.
During the time that the protective order was in place, did you have to stay away from your ex-wife?
Yes.
Did you have children together?
No.
Did you have property in the house?
Yes.
Were you allowed to get the property right away or after the protective order was vacated?
After it was served.
After it was served. So you knew the drill.
Yes, that's
right.
That's why
Mr. Webb, I got it, sir.
But
I got the whole thing.
I said I was expecting her. They were going to serve her at work, and she came home unused. She
He
came
knew that.
home
Just a
early.
second. Are you telling me, sir, that she had some sort of an epiphany, and she knew that something was going to happen, so she came home from work early?
I don't know.
Well, I don't know either. All I know is that you filed for this protective order, and you had no right to do it. You didn't file it because you were in imminent fear of your life. You filed it because you wanted an opportunity to get your property out of the house.
Exactly. I filed it because she
Baloney.
attacked me.
I don't. Baloney. Now, What personal property do you claim he took that's yours? Don't give me a laundry list. I'm not interested.
He took my clothes, shoes, computer, kitchen items.
I'm not interested in kitchen items.
Well,
I'm not interested
mainly
in...
my clothes and my shoes and my computer.
What would he do with your clothes and your shoes?
Ask him that. I mean, he took even my dirty clothes, underwears and bras, and left only one shoe for each pair.
Let's go. Let's go.
No, I did not take. While she was ordered, I did not take her clothes.
What'd you take?
I took my belongings.
No, you didn't.
Listen, Miss Thompson, if you interrupt again, I'm going to dismiss your claim. Do you understand?
Yes, I'm sorry.
I took my belongings, okay? I took all the furniture in the home, which belonged to me, that I purchased.
What about her computer? Did you take the computer?
Yeah, I took the computer, which was our computer.
Okay. Who purchased the computer?
I purchased the
Be
computer.
careful of what you say to me, because you know I go into it. When you say who bought it, who paid for it?
I did.
Show me.
I don't have. She took all the papers.
Show me.
She took all the receipts and everything.
I had this computer ever since I've been going to school. I graduated in June. From the beginning, I started school because all my classes are online.
That doesn't mean she purchased it.
Well, let me see the bill for it.
That's all they gave me was that printout.
Payment history by rental. Is this a...
I rented it from Rent-A-Center, and I was making payments through Rent-A-Center.
Okay, got it. Yeah, it's our computer.
Oh,
no question. It's our computer. Now, all right, let's leave that for a minute. Let's go to money owed for daycare expenses.
Right.
When do you say he agreed to pay for half of your son's daycare?
I believe it was like November of 2004.
And where were you when he agreed to pay for half?
We were at the house.
Before or after this altercation on the 2nd or 3rd of November?
It was before.
So it had to be November 1st.
Mm-hmm.
Well, tell me where you were both sitting when you had this discussion that he was going to pay for half of the daycare.
In the living room on the couch.
Okay, and tell me about the conversation.
We just made a verbal agreement that he would pay for half of the child care.
Now, when did you make arrangements to go to family court with regard to support for your son?
After November 10th, after he placed the order against me regarding a restraining order.
All right. This is why, Ms. Thompson, that when you lie, it's a bad thing. Very bad thing. Because I'm going to read to you from your complaint that you swore to. You said, Demetrius and I had a verbal agreement that he would pay for half of our son's daycare until everything was resolved in the family court. Now, on November 1st, when you allegedly had this discussion sitting calmly on the couch in your house, you had no family court appointment. You didn't make a family court appointment until you started out with the criminal court with regards to the protective order.
Right.
Right. So you couldn't have had the discussion with him on November 1st.
We had been.
Baloney.
Oh,
baloney.
God. Okay.
I don't like when you lie. You don't get moving expenses, sir. You moved out? Good for you. You weren't getting along? That's the way it goes. I think that what you did was the wrong thing, even though she lied to me, and I usually don't like that, and I would not reward her. But I think that what you did to her by filing this protective order was nothing more than vicious and vindictive. You could have handled it in a much more civilized way by saying, I'm moving out, and you could have moved out your things very easily while she was at work. And you don't have to have her, mother of your child, in a situation where she has a criminal record, where she's taken into custody, where she's served with a protective order, where she's prevented from going to her own home. You did the wrong thing, and that's going to cost you $2,500. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500. That's it.
What is our excuse? You know, step out.
She caught her blatantly lying and still awarded her.
I'm really grateful that, she made that decision.
If she's lying, I mean, that's it. Everything's a lie.
He was a total liar in the room.
She was lying about everything.
And the judge proved it, and I'm just really grateful that this is over with.
She created a violent situation.
He was cussing at me, calling me all kinds of names in front of my 3-year-old child.
I was upset, but, I was like, okay, well, that's it. I'm moving. That's it.
There ain't no future. We just have a communication between me and our son, and that's it.
I'm just going to take care of my son like I've been doing,
I don't want him to have a part of his son's life, but he's not doing nothing now. He can't even pick him up on the days that the judge, granted him to pick him up on.
I'm just going to take care of my son, and maybe he'll see this one day and realize what kind of mother he got.
Tony Williams is suing her cousin, 20-year-old Sir Williams, for various household bills. Sir is countersuing, claiming Tony bleached his clothes.
Order. All rise.
This is case number 520 on the calendar, the matter of Williams versus Williams. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have a seat.
What's your first name?
Sir.
Is that what people call you, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Interesting first name.
Thank you.
Miss Williams, this is your cousin. According to your complaint, you leased an apartment with him, with one other person?
With him, yes, ma'am.
Just with him?
Yes, ma'am.
And your agreement was as follows, that you were going to pay the rent and he was going to pay the utilities.
Yes, ma'am.
The utilities were in your name. He didn't pay the utilities. According to you, he owes you several $100s for the utility bills before he moved out. And in addition, because he didn't pay the utilities, he ruined your credit, so you want him to pay additional damages to you. Sir says that there was never any agreement for him to pay the utilities. And in addition, this has nothing to do with anything other than a family dispute that you had, which caused you at some later time to come to his home, where he had moved with his grandmother, and you came and you poured bleach and you ruined his clothing and his shirts and his shoes, and you have some property that belongs to him. When did you sign this lease with your cousin?
Ma'am, I have the lease agreement right here. He signed it on the 25th. Actually, he signed it on 6/2004.
Where had you lived before?
With my grandmother.
Were you working at the time you moved in with your cousin?
Yes, ma'am.
Who were you working for?
EBS, Janitorial Services.
How much money were you making?
$9 an hour.
Working 40 hours a week?
Yes, ma'am.
Your cousin says that you had an agreement that you were supposed to take care of the utilities.
No, ma'am.
Why in the world would she sign a lease with you? You did sign a lease, didn't you?
Yes.
And you not have any responsibility to pay any of the bills at all?
No, I moved in with her. She said she was going to help me get on my feet. She was about to get a house built, and I was going to move out and get my own apartment.
But you signed the lease?
Yes. That's for my apartment credit, so I can get my own apartment. I wouldn't have that much hassle.
And when did you move out?
I got put out.
When?
The end of August, beginning of September.
When did you put him out?
Ma'am, actually, I didn't put him out, but it was in October. My cousin had a birthday party for him on October 2nd. He stopped by with his nephew, picked up some things, and that's the last time I saw him. I haven't even spoken to him since all this happened, to be honest with you.
Ma'am, actually, she did put me out. She told me, give me my house key, get out, and if you don't have all your stuff out here by Sunday, it's going to be scattered out across the apartments.
You lived there for 3 months.
Correct.
What did you do with all your money?
Nothing. I bought my clothes. I bought stuff that I needed.
And you didn't give your cousin any money?
No, I wasn't supposed to.
I didn't ask you whether you say you weren't supposed to. That's what grown-ups do when they have a job. Sir,
Okay.
they take care of their own responsibility. You know, when you were living with your grandmother, were you giving her any money?
No.
You giving her any money now?
No.
Are you still working?
No, ma'am.
Well, did you lose your job?
Yes, ma'am.
Why?
According to my job, I had a lot of calls coming in from her and her friend that, they said that they were being rude with them. They used to call my job for unnecessary stuff like, I'm his girlfriend, there's an emergency, and all this other type of thing. That's what my job was told to me.
You got to start taking care of your own responsibilities. You have a girlfriend?
Yes, I did.
You didn't have any children?
No, ma'am.
Take your girlfriend out?
No.
He was supposed to take care of the utilities?
Yes, ma'am, he was.
Tell me what you told him when he moved in.
Actually, madam, there's a history behind this. Back in 2002, I got out of the military. I'm in the United States Marine Corps. He actually lived with both my sister and I. We were roommates. We rented a house. We stayed there for a year. When our lease was up, we moved into an apartment. I was purchasing a home. Sir was with us the whole time. Yes, I was helping him out. He was my brother. He asked me if he could be my brother. We were raised together. She's my grandmother, too. We moved into this apartment. I was actually working. He was working for me when all this happened with EBS. I got him the job. I was in property management. I was taking him to and from work. The deal was I would pay
driving
rent.
you to and from work?
Yes, she did.
I would
go ahead.
I would pay rent because I made more money. He did. He would pay the utility bills.
What utilities?
The electric bill, the telephone bill, the cable bill, and also, madam, I got him a cellular phone in my name, which I'm not litigating against today. But those bills, which totally conclusively didn't really add up too much. I mean, I was paying rent.
In total, for the 3 months that he lived with you, how much were those bills? The electricity, telephone,
the cable bill was $464.80, and the
$464?
$464
for 3 months
and 80 cents. Yes, ma'am.
What kind of cable did you have?
Besides the cable bill, someone else, and it wasn't me. I don't know who it was, but they ordered movies or something like that. Fights, which I guess cost more money.
Did you ever do that?
No, ma'am. She ordered those fights.
Just a minute. What was the basic cable bill?
I think it was like $97 a month or something like that.
Is that possible?
Yes.
It's entirely possible.
All right, so that's $300. What else?
The telephone is $166.79, and the electric bill was $604.59.
What was your rent?
$720, but I also paid a wash and dry, which was $35, and a water bill, which was usually about, I'll say $30 a month.
So you were paying about $780, and he was paying about $350.
Yes, ma'am.
Sounds fair to me.
No,
Sir?
She also had a roommate that moved in with her.
Who was that?
That was her friend.
My lover. But
Just a second.
Go ahead.
Well, if that's the case, then this doesn't look so fair.
She did not live there, but she was there a lot. Sir had his own room. She was in my room.
They shared rooms.
Well, I mean, that's my space.
They moved in. They said that they were going to split the bills and
No,
whatever they
we
did.
did not. She did.
No, don't interrupt.
Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
he's speaking now. Go ahead.
She moved in as soon as we moved to the apartment. She said, well, we're going to split the bills and we're going to take care of this and that and other because she was getting a house built. I was going to sign my name on the lease for 3 months. Now that she's not going to be able to get her house, I guess that's why she's upset.
This is what I don't understand. She was building a house, which means that she had to have a certain credit rating. According to what I read, these bills were in her name.
Correct.
And it doesn't sound logical to me that she would avoid paying these bills purposely, not pay these bills, unless she thought, I'm speaking, unless she thought someone else was taking care of those bills and risk her credit being put in the sewer when she was paying the rent. Going to pay for a mortgage on a house, right?
Correct.
So what you tell me about your lack of any sort of financial obligation for your own living expenses or for part of them doesn't make sense, sir.
she was helping me out.
Doesn't make sense, my dear. Now, you want to tell me about the bleached clothes?
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Tony Williams says her cousin, Sir Williams, lived with her for free for 3 months. She is suing for $5,000 worth of household bills.
Madam, I have never bleached his clothes. As far as a clock, radio, and the stereo, my mother gave me that for my 30th birthday.
There came a time when you went to your grandmother's house.
Yes, ma'am.
You were angry with him.
I was.
You were angry with him because he didn't pay these bills?
Yes, ma'am.
Was there any other reason?
No, I was mad at him because my credit was in the toilet. I got all these telephone calls. They were turning off my electricity.
So you went to the house and you were angry. What did you do when you got there?
I talked to my Nana, and I was upset. I was crying. I mean, I was very frustrated. She told me she didn't believe me. She told me that I was mad at her because of some girl between my sister. I have no idea. I started talking to my Uncle Robert, his dad. My Uncle Robert told me the same thing. I said, I have the paperwork right here.
What do you think that your cousin was angry about? About some girl?
No, we that night when I got off work and I came home, she was upset. She was sitting on the couch talking about something about me and my cousin was at this other girl's house and waiting for my other cousin to come in. She said she called, she talked to my cousin, he told her I was asleep on the couch. She said not even 5 minutes later after that, her sister called, Monica called, and said the girl was just talking crazy to her, and she was wondering why I didn't stick up for her, why I didn't defend her. I said, well, I was asleep on the couch, so I didn't know anything about that.
You mean okay, let me see if I can translate this. Your cousin was angry because she had heard that someone was saying bad things about her and you didn't defend her?
To her sister.
Whatever. She was saying somebody was saying bad things and you weren't defending her. And your excuse for not defending her, despite the fact that she had been so good to you, was that you were sleeping on the couch.
Correct.
Now you got it? Now, what happened when she came in with regard to your clothes? She came in, she spoke to her Nana, she spoke to your father.
I wasn't there. Actually,
Who was there?
My grandmother was there.
You want to talk to me?
Yes.
Yes, Your Honor.
What's your last name?
Ruth Williams.
All right, Miss Williams.
Ruth Williams Caraway.
Do you remember when this happened?
Not exactly the date, but it started in September.
Now, I want to know when she came to the house.
Let me see, I got that moved on it. It's been anyway, it was the 10th and the 4th, I think. She at first called and asked me where was Sir. I told her he wasn't there. She said, because I'm going to kill him. I said, no. I said, you're not going to kill him. Yes, I am going to kill him because he left and owed me some money. I said, no, Tony, don't do this. Yeah, I'm going to do it. And then she left. And then I talked to her other sister, and she was raving. She said, I love my sister. He do just what she get him. So I said, well, he's not here. And when she come over to the house, she just rushed in the house, fussing and going on, and went on into his room. Her mother was standing on one side of the door. I was standing on the other. And she went in and she taken it here. I always put Clorox in his room because I'm allergic to it. And she taken a whole gallon of Purex and put all over both the bunk beds, threw the fan on the floor. We got pictures of those.
I'd like to see it, please.
And spread them all over his clothes. And I told him, I said, I wouldn't do that. I said, I'm going to call the police. And she said, oh, hell no, you're not going to call the police. And she shoved me up against the wall. She shoved her mama to it. Her mama said she didn't do it. Her mama was on one side, I was on the other. And she shoved me up against the wall and went and didn't hang up the phone. So I told her mama to hang up the phone so I could call the police. So she didn't let her hang up the phone. So I didn't get to call the police. So they went out in the yard. I called and told my brother-in-law to tell Sir, don't come home. I said, because Tony's over here saying she's going to kill him. And I don't want that in my house. They stayed out in my yard about 3.5 hours, raving and cussing and dragging a whole box of these clothes out there and filled them full of water. And that's where they left her. And she went and got a baseball bat. She come back to the house. That's when I said that she needed help. She come back to the house and was going to run in. Her mama said, shut the door, don't let her in. So I had to screen those clothes, and she just snatched the screens door, which I got a picture of that too, and pulled it loose and asked me if I wanted some of it.
Oh, no, please stop it.
I told her no, that she wasn't going to get in, to leave my house, and don't ever come back anymore, because I've never had a granddaughter to disrespect me as much. She said, well, I'm going to get him when he come home. So her mother, her sister, and I guess that was her other lady friend. Anyway, it was a friend of hers. They stayed at my house about 3.5 hours, sitting out on the porch with a baseball bat, waiting for him to come home. So when he come, I just showed him the room. She showed I have a bruise on this hip, and my shoulder I can still feel.
Nana, please stop.
I told her, my daughter, I thought it was all over till he got a summary that saying he was going to court. I don't know why I had the pictures taken, but I had them taken because I felt that I needed proof to show that something had happened.
If you're 20 years old and you're working and you have a job and you have a cousin who before all this happened was very good to you, right?
Correct.
according to you, if I'm to believe you, she was really very good to you for a long time because you lived with her more than 3 months, right?
And I never paid rent. I know.
I'm not talking about paying rent. That doesn't make you a star, the fact that you lived with her for more than 3 months and didn't pay rent. That makes you a bottom sucker.
No.
Now, listen to me carefully, my dear. She says that you lived with her before.
I never paid rent. I never was supposed to.
I understand you didn't pay rent. She said you lived with her before, which means she was good to you.
Correct. So why is she suing me then?
After I'm finished with him, have a big boy discussion with him. Maybe he'll get it from you. Maybe he'll get it from you. You have to explain to me, sir, why someone who has had a history of being nothing but nice to you, let you live with her, supported you, got you a job, all of a sudden would turn on you. Like that. You have to explain that to me. It doesn't make sense.
There's no explanation for that. I don't know why she did that.
Are you still in the military?
No, ma'am, I'm not.
You didn't have a psychiatric discharge, did you?
No, ma'am, I didn't.
Not crazy.
She bleached my clothes.
No, ma'am, I did not.
Just a second. Miss Williams. Miss Williams, listen, look at me.
Yes, ma'am.
Angry. You were, I believe, your grandmother. You went to the house, you and a friend, and you were absolutely beside yourself for whatever reason. I believe you bleached his clothes.
I did not, madam.
Yes, you probably did.
I'm sorry.
Probably did.
I did not.
Probably did.
I have a witness here who can attest to this fact. Not only was it us, it was not another woman with me. It was myself, my sister, who drove me over there because I was upset. She didn't want me driving. There was a guest, a neighbor, actually, who came over to us, and we were not in the yard 3.5 hours. I was in there maybe 45 minutes. I don't know. I was upset.
Long time.
My mom was calming me down. I did not have a back. Anyway, this neighbor came over to us.
I even had a friend that came in.
Sir owed him money. I'm guessing. That's what he told us. My sister can attest to this. I did not bleach his clothes. I didn't even steal my radio that he stole from me, that my mother gave me on my 30th birthday. And as far as those pictures, to be honest with you, I think maybe they staged that. I love my grandmother to death. Now, you have no clue as to how much you've hurt me today. You have no idea. And to say that I hit you, I would never intend to yell and scream at my mother, too. I wasn't even raised that way.
Just a second. So you're not saying that she hit you?
She shoved me.
Shoved you?
Yeah, up against the wall like that.
Ms. Williams, I believe that you are owed a certain amount of money. I believe that your cousin agreed to pay for the utilities.
No, I did not.
Don't interrupt me! Listen to me. I may be wrong. This may be one of the few times since 1947 that I have been wrong. I'm willing to live with it, because if you did not agree to pay some share of the living expenses, I'm prepared to be comfortable in the fact that you should have. So I find that there was an agreement, and if I'm wrong, I'm prepared to live with it. Do you understand, sir? Sir? Do you understand that, sir?
I don't think I should have paid anything.
You wouldn't.
Listen to me. Don't speak to him. Don't speak to him.
Because if that was the case, why would all the other times when I stayed where I wasn't obligated to pay any rent? Why all of a sudden now her bills get outrageous? Now
because now, sir, you are a big boy. And you signed the lease. And you owe her $1,070.
Also, the lease says that I was an occupant. She was the leaseholder.
And you've got a big fresh mouth, so I'm dismissing your counterclaim. That's all. Step out.
Step out.
I cannot stand him. What hurts me most is my own grandmother.
Well, I just think he should take more responsibility.
What did I ever do to him that was so bad, or even her? I love them both.
She should quit accusing people and take responsibility.
She did come to my house. She bleached my clothes.
Why would she bleach his clothes? We went and purchased his clothes, the both of us.
They didn't pay for anything. All those things I bought with my own money.
You know what, punk you. I cannot believe you. Is that funny to you?
I just think it's just so wrong. I hate it. I love her to death. She's supposed to have been my special granddaughter.
She told me 3 months ago I was dead to her. They've both been dead to me for that long, too, I guess, especially after today.
This time when she gets upset, she loses her mind. The girl needs help.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Daniels versus Sizemore. Step forward, please.
Homemaker Tammy Daniels is suing her ex-husband, factory worker George Sizemore, for his share of their son's funeral expenses. George says Tammy didn't consult him regarding the arrangements.
Ms. Daniels, the defendant is your former husband. You have 2 children together, or had 2 children together?
Yes, ma'am.
Your oldest son had been in the Marines.
Yes, ma'am.
Where was he stationed?
He was in Paris Island, and then he went to Camp Lejeune, South Carolina.
He came back from the Marines, and tragically, he committed suicide.
Yes,
When was that?
He was in Louisville, Kentucky.
When?
On July the 17th, 2004.
It is your claim that your former husband agreed to pay for half of certain funeral expenses, and he did not.
Yes.
That's what you're suing him for. And your former husband says that he was not consulted with regard to things that you purchased, certain flowers, memorial stone, and he's not paying for it.
Yes, sir, ma'am.
Okay. When did you make the arrangement, Mrs. Daniels, with Mr. Sizemore to pay certain of the funeral expenses?
My son died on July the 17th. My ex-husband come to my house. That was on a Saturday. My ex-husband come to my house on a Sunday with my husband and my son, and my sister and a few of my other family members was there, and we discussed the flowers. He helped pick out the flowers. We had a meeting Saturday when I found out my son died. We had to go to Grayson's funeral home, and we had to pick out the funeral service, the casket, and everything. It totaled up that day to be, just for the funeral service, $5,998.70.
What was the discussion about the flowers?
He agreed to pay half of them.
That's what I want to know. He agreed to pay for half?
Yes, ma'am.
And how much were the flowers?
The flowers was $225.
And what else did he agree to pay for?
He agreed to pay half of the gravesite.
How much was the gravesite?
$400.
Who paid for that?
Me and my husband.
What else did he agree to pay for half of?
He agreed to pay half for the headstone.
Who picked out the headstone?
My sons.
Did Mr. Sizemore have any input in the headstone?
Yes, I called him that Saturday morning when we were going to look for the headstone and told him, asked him if him and Mary would meet us up at the monument, and he said that he couldn't make it. I said, George, are you going to help me with our son's headstone and the money you owe us? And he said, I don't have the effing money.
I'm going to hear you, Mr. Sizemore.
Okay. To start out with, yes, we started looking at the flowers on that Sunday. You know, I did agree to pay half of the flowers for the flowers. As far as the gravesite went, yes, the funeral director did say it was going to be an additional $400. And I said that was fine with me. You know, it started out, I wanted him buried.
Just a second. So you agreed to pay for half the gravesite?
Yes, ma'am, I did. Yes, I did.
All right, fine.
Okay, and during the time that we were setting up the funeral arrangements and the graves and all that, I was asked that, you know, we were asked where did we want him buried. I wanted him buried within my family area. Okay, her sister and her spoke up and said, well, we want him close to our mom, which is fine if he'd been buried there. My son is buried in a public cemetery by himself. You know, I didn't agree to that site.
Why is that, Ms. Daniels?
My son is buried where the spots was open, and it's right down from my mom. And
just a minute. Is there any reason why, if he wasn't buried in the same plot as your family, that he wasn't buried in Mr. Sizemore's family's plot?
He lives about 6 miles from where we live. He has to come through Charlestown to go to Otisco. He goes by my son's grave every day. That was right there where everybody could go and visit my son.
Okay, fine. That's a reason. That's a reason. Okay, so far, Mr. Sizemore, I see that you owe your former wife $312 for the expenses that you agreed to pay half for and did not. I don't know about the tombstone because I haven't heard an agreement to pay for half of that.
As far as the headstone goes, they called and asked me about, you know, meeting and getting it. And I told them that the only requirement that I actually asked for on that is that it be black granite. Time prior, before my son passed away, we talk about things like that because, you know, I'm getting older. And he always told me, you know,
how old are you?
42. Okay.
When you're 42, you don't think about what color granite you want on your gravesite.
I do. Life's too fast to worry about, think about things like that. But anyways, to go on, I said the only thing that really requires it be black granite, and with him being in the military, he's very proud of that. I wanted that. I don't want something with his battalion or whatever. And I said I will not pay over $1,000 for my half of this headstone.
Okay, so how much was that stone?
The headstone totaled out to $3,745.
Okay. So he already told you that he wasn't going to pay for more than $1,000?
No, he did not. He told me he would pay half when I talked to him on the phone.
Was the stone that you selected black granite?
Yes, ma'am.
Is black granite?
He's never been there to see.
Ma'am, I cannot go up there if my family's done. I said, yeah. As far as I know, it is, yes.
Okay, well, then you got half of what you want because I assume it doesn't say anything about the military. Is that right?
Ma'am, I don't know.
Yes, it does. This guy's military picture on it.
So it has his military picture on it. So you got your black granite and you got his picture on it.
Okay.
Right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you got to pay $1,000 for it. That's what you said. Let's say that's what you said, that you were going to pay $1,000 for it. So that's $1,312. Look, Ms. Daniels, when somebody dies prematurely like this, anger is a much easier emotion to deal with than loss and sorrow. Don't be angry. Don't be angry at her. The fact that your son isn't buried in a place that you would have preferred.
I'm not angry with her.
So don't be angry.
No.
You have to sort of put a period, take care of this responsibility,
Yes, ma'am.
and look forward. Don't say anything else. That's all. Thank you.
If parties are excused, you may step out.
It's just another line of her harassing me.
He lied. He knows all about it. He's the one who has to deal with what a disgrace of a father that he really is.
I guess probably because she wants me to come back to her and it's not happening.
He wouldn't return her call. He's behind in child support. He won't pay nothing.
All she had to do is give me the receipts, you know. Instead of calling me up on the phone telling me I killed my son.
He's the one who's got to stand in front of God on Judgment Day.
25-year-old homemaker Tanya Parson for rent money and an unpaid loan. Tanya says Dwayne threw her 6-year-old son into an ice-cold bath.
All rise. Your Honor, case number 97 on the calendar in the matter of Haney versus Parson. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Mr. Haney, the defendant, according to you, is a friend of yours. You allowed her to move into your home on a couple of occasions with her children when she was in some financial distress. You claim now that she owes you for a variety of things, some old loan, rent, utilities.
Correct.
Ms. Parsons says there was never an agreement for her to pay you anything. You are angry over two things. You are angry that she rejected your advances. She was not interested in you in a social way, and that bothered you. And second, you are angry because she reported you to the authorities for abusing one of her children. How long do you know her?
I've known her for about 7 years. We dated. A girl I was dating at one time lived in the same neighborhood that she did, same apartment complex. Me and the other girl broke up. Her and I talked. We went our separate ways. We didn't see each other for about 5 years. And one night at a nightclub, run into her. Then we started talking, and next thing you know, we were dating.
And when was that, sir?
It's roughly in the neighborhood about February a year ago.
So why don't you tell me about first the loans and then the arrangement with regard to rent and utilities?
She was calling several times, telling me that she had made a mistake, that she felt that she left me to go with this other guy that dumped her in Ohio.
Are you going to tell me about the loan?
Yes. That's where we're going to.
Let's get there.
She called me up needing money. Her kids needed school supplies for school.
When was this, sir?
Last year, before school. Her and her boyfriend agreed they would pay it back as soon as they can.
So how much did you give them at that time?
I gave them $100.
And then tell me about the rest of your lawsuit involving the rent and utilities.
Well, she left with him, went to Ohio. He threw her out. She came back to Charleston.
When?
February 15th. She asked me could she move back in. I said, okay. Are we talking boyfriend, girlfriend, or you want in a room? She said, well, what's the difference? I said, well, I'm not going to charge my girlfriend to live with me. You know, that's kind of stupid. And she said, oh, I see. If I sleep with you, then I don't have to pay. I said, no, it's not like that either. You know, if you're in a relationship, you know, you were helping before. There's no sense in, you know, I'm paying all this and you just lay around and do nothing. And she said, no, I just want the rooms. I said, fine. I rented the U-Haul to go get her stuff from Myrtle Beach, gas. Every time I turn around, she would, can I borrow $20 for this? Can I borrow $10 for that? I need cigarettes. I need gas. I want to rent a movie. There was no sexual advances to her in any way.
When did she move out, sir?
April the 29th, I evicted her.
Why?
Because she wasn't paying me any money.
Did you have a discussion with her?
Yes.
Tell me about the discussion you had with her.
She simply said she didn't have the money. I said, Tanya, you got a job. I helped you get a job.
Well, what kind of work did you get for her, sir?
She was a cashier.
Where?
At Speedway, or Conoco, whatever they call it now. They changed the name.
Did you know how much she was making?
About $100 a week.
And how much of the $100 a week did you expect her to give you, Mr. Haney?
I told her, even if it was $5 a week.
You wanted to see something, $5 a week.
Make an effort.
Okay, so you wanted her to give you $5 a week?
Correct.
Okay, for the 12 weeks that she was living there?
Correct.
Okay, fine.
No.
And she didn't, so then you threw her out?
No. She had $1,000 coming to her for back child support. She kept telling me, as soon as that gets here, I will pay you up, get you caught up.
Get you caught up with what?
What she owed me.
Well, what did she owe you?
The loans.
So there's only one loan of $100 that was a year before, sir. That's all the loans that I'm hearing
Correct.
about.
But the dollar here, 20.
Tally, I'm not, listen, my parents didn't send me to law school and college and post-law school for 10 years to talk about the dollar here and the $2 there. That's gone. It's in the wind. Do you understand? What
Here's
else?
a list of every time she borrowed money from me, I wrote it down.
Listen.
She knew it.
Listen to me. You think that I believe that list that you just filled out? Do you think, Mr. Haney, that I believe that every time you gave her $5, you went over to a book and filled out $5, Tanya, for cigarettes? You think that I believe that? You think that my father raised an idiot?
No.
Good. Then let us move
Because
on,
that's
sir.
what-
Let us move on, sir.
Okay? I went and had an eviction notice signed on her.
And you say it's because she did not
owes me rent.
Because she did not pay you rent.
Did not pay me rent.
Oh, okay, now.
Didn't pay me for fixing her car.
Okay.
Buying the shoes.
All right, Ms. Parson, now I would like you to tell me, madam, I want you to tell me about what happened on the 29th of April or immediately preceding the 29th of April.
When he got me this job at Sunoco gas station, he agreed that he volunteered to watch my children for me while I was at work because I work third shift. And my son is 6 years old. He has a bedwetting problem. He called me one morning at work and asked me to bring home a small brown bag to mail off cigarettes to somebody, and in the same conversation told me that he had spanked my son for bedwetting. He had done it 3 times that night, and he spanked him twice out of the 3 times.
Is that the corporal punishment that you're talking about? The spanking?
He also put him in a tub filled with cold water.
When was that?
The same night.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Haney says his ex-girlfriend Tanya Parson owes for rent and a loan. Tanya says Dwayne threw her 6-year-old son into a cold bath after he wet the bed.
Now, Mr. Haney doesn't deny that he spanked your son for bedwetting, right?
No, I don't deny it.
Okay. Why do you think that that's an appropriate thing to do, sir?
For one, he didn't wet the bed 1 time that night. He did it 3 times.
Do you think that he did it on purpose, sir?
I don't know. Just like I told him.
Just a second. If you don't know why he wet the bed, that means that you don't know whether he suffered from some sort of a psychiatric disability or a physical disability. You had no idea.
No, but at the same time, the first time he wet the bed, nothing was done. Because he got up in the middle of the night, changed his own clothes, got back in bed, and urinated again.
What does that tell you, Mr. Genius? What does that tell you, Mr. Genius? Did that tell you that the 6-year-old was maybe perhaps embarrassed?
Well, you know,
Well, what?
We have gone, him and I have talked about it. Logan, what's wrong? You know, is there something wrong? No, I'm just lazy. Because he has
I want to ask you a question. Did you get your degree in psychology from an accredited university?
No, I did not.
Did you take any parenting classes before you decided that this was an appropriate way to treat a 6-year-old bedwetter?
No.
Do you have any children of your own?
Oh, yeah.
How many?
I have 2.
How many did you raise?
My daughter comes with me every weekend.
How many did you raise?
None.
Mr. Haney, it is inappropriate for you to physically discipline anyone else's children in the first place. In the second place, until you understand what all the problems might be with a child that causes them to bedwet, the very idea that you would resort to physical punishment suggests to me that you're missing one of the cans of a 6-pack. Do you understand me, sir?
Oh, yeah.
Now, did you report this to any authority?
The cops were called out. I called the cops out to the house. And
when?
Probably about a week or so later.
Why?
Because of the disagreement me and him were having.
Disagreement about what?
He was threatening to kick me out.
Let me explain something to you, Miss Parson. I believe you probably understand that Mr. Haney had some feeling for you. Correct? Right?
Before I moved in, it was understood.
That's not what I asked you. You're a young, attractive girl, and he's an older fool. And I believe that you needed him. You used him.
No,
of course you did. You used him.
I did not use him.
Of course you did.
Everything was on the table before I even moved in.
Well, he wasn't using you. He let you move into his house. You weren't paying rent. He was babysitting for your children. How do you say that I wasn't using him? You were. You were using him, and you were using him because, Miss Parson, you understood that he had feelings for you. That's why it was very important to you to have your agreement with him before you moved in that this is strictly platonic.
No, Your Honor.
Oh, Miss Parson. Oh, yes, my dear. You chose him because he's better than a shelter. Give you a room. He's going to babysit for your kids. You got food. You got everything that you need. And the reason he did it was because he had feelings for you. Isn't that right, Mr. Haney? Look at my face.
Yes.
Isn't that right, sir?
Oh, yeah.
Now, when you met her 5 years ago, were you attracted to her?
Yeah.
And at that time, you were 39 and she was 20.
Right.
Is that right?
That's about right.
That's not a good match, Mr. Haney.
I understand that, but...
So you know what happens when an old guy wants to go out with a young girl? Costs some money.
Well...
And in your case, you know how much it cost you? $160. It's a bargain. It's a cheap lesson, Mr. Haney. Truth of the matter is, you were looking for something more. Mr. Haney, look here, sir. You were looking for something more. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. That doesn't let you come to court like a crybaby and say, now I want all the money for cigarettes and gas I gave her over the 3 months that she lived with me, and this $100 I gave her for school supplies a year ago, because I guarantee you this, Mr. Haney. Had Miss Parson decided to come across and move into your room, you would have forgiven the $100 loan and all the $5 cigarettes and gas. But the fact that she rejected you, and the fact that she ultimately decided, well, I'm going to even make it a little bit more difficult for him. He spanked my kid, and he shouldn't have done that, which, by the way, you shouldn't have done. That doesn't make a lawsuit. That makes a bad relationship. So, Mr. Haney, this relationship didn't cost you a fortune, sir. It cost you a couple of $100 and a good lesson. Find somebody age appropriate. Your lawsuit's dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It wasn't what the way the judge put it out to be, that I just wanted to sleep with the girl. No, I didn't.
It was agreed upon when I moved in there that it was going to be strictly platonic.
I felt sorry for her because of her kids. I gave her a place to stay. She agreed to pay me the $200 a month.
Once I got in there and he was asking me where was I going, who was I with, why was I with this person, why was I doing what I was doing, and I told him that was none of his business. It continued to go downhill.
The judge ruled, that's it, in the case.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Pritchard versus Butler. Step forward, please.
Legal assistant Tanya Pritchard is suing her former friend, roofer John Butler, for medical bills. Tanya says John's pit bull bit her 5-year-old daughter in the face.
Mrs. Pritchard, this is your little girl, I assume. Is that right? Her name is?
Emily May Lowry.
And Emily was bitten by a dog that is owned by Mr. Butler. And she was bitten on the lip.
Correct.
She had some surgery.
Yes.
She's going to need probably some more.
Yes.
And you are suing him for $4,000 for both her prior care and the care that she will probably need in the future, as well as some pain and suffering.
Correct.
And Mr. Butler says that it was Emily's fault and your fault. Correct, sir?
Correct.
Oh. When was your daughter bitten?
Where or when?
When?
When, September 6, 2003.
Next question is where?
We were at a company picnic potluck.
What does that mean?
It was a gathering with the company my fiance works for. So we were at a company potluck picnic. Everybody brings some stuff and we just all get together. And
how many people were there?
At the beginning, probably around 100.
Did there come a time where there were more or less people in the 100?
Yes, after the softball game, about 3/4 of the people left.
What time did this incident happen where Mr. Butler's dog bit your daughter?
About 15 minutes before 8.
Had Mr. Butler been there the entire day?
He had been there during the picnic and the potluck, and then after the picnic and potluck and softball game, he left.
Where did you go, sir?
I went to go get my dogs.
Why did you leave to go and get your dogs?
I figured it'd be a good idea for them to run around in the field so I could throw the frisbee for them.
So you got them to play?
Right.
Had you been drinking that day, sir?
I've had a few beers.
A few is more than 2?
2 beers.
Well, was it 2 or more than 2?
A couple. 2.
A couple, 2. And when you left to pick up your dogs and you brought them back, did you bring them back on leashes or not?
Not on leashes at all.
Why not?
I don't ever put leashes on my dogs.
Well, when your dogs are around other people, isn't it usually a wise idea to keep them on leashes, sir?
I've never had a problem before.
How long have you had these dogs?
I've had Buddha for 2 years.
Buddha?
Buddha.
Is that the dog that bit Emily?
Yes, ma'am.
And how old is Buddha?
3.5.
So that he was a year and a half old when you got him?
Yes, ma'am.
Now tell me about when your daughter was bitten by Buddha. Go ahead.
Okay, John came back with the dogs, let them loose. They were running around. The people who stayed decided to play horseshoes, so we all moved to the horseshoe pit area. The children that were there were playing right behind our chairs, and our chairs were facing the horseshoe pit so that we could see what was going on. Buddha was actually in the way of the horseshoe game. It was trying to get underway, and he kept running in front of everybody that was trying to throw the horseshoes. So everybody was telling John to get the dogs out of the way. John grabbed his dog, Buddha, kind of just pulled him back a little bit and told him to stay out of the way, and then pushed him off. As soon as he pushed him off and let go, he ran directly to Emily. The very next thing I know, she's screaming. As soon as he let go and said, go away, the dog ran and jumped up and bit her.
And bit her on the face?
Yes.
Describe that moment.
I actually have pictures of it.
I'd like to see the photographs.
The bite, we were told by the surgeon that there was only 1 millimeter of skin hanging.
Can I see it? Don't tell me what the surgeon said. That's hearsay. Emily, could you come up here so I could take a look at your lips, sweetheart? Come on. You're a very pretty little girl. Is that why the dog bit you? Did it hurt? Very pretty. Do you know my name? You know what my job is? No? Do you know who your dad is? Would you like to go and sit down next to him? Go ahead. Go and sit down. Okay. All right, well, this is a pretty nasty bite. How many stitches did you have?
It took 15 stitches. 10 of them were on the inside, and then 5 of them were on the outside.
Okay. What do you have there?
I have an estimate from the plastic surgeon of how much the dermabrasion is going to cost. Okay. Dermabrasion is where they just grind it down a little bit to get rid of those bumps.
Okay. Okay. And Mr. Butler, were you present when Buddha bit Emily?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me first your version of how that happened, sir.
Everybody's playing horseshoes, and I was talking to a fellow co-worker, and he was falling down on me. He was intoxicated. And people were playing horseshoes, and I was waiting my turn to play the horseshoes. And all the little kids were playing Frisbee and throwing the ball behind all the adults. I think there was like 2 to 3 dogs out there, I don't know. And I just heard a little scream, and everybody was freaking out, and then I found out that one of the dogs had bit the little girl. So I grabbed both my dogs, and I put them in the truck, and then I went and grabbed some ice for the little girl.
You knew it was your dog?
Well, I brought 2 dogs.
You didn't know which of your 2 dogs had done it?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of dog is Buddha?
He's a pit bull and Boston Terrier.
How much does he weigh?
25 pounds.
Now, I read your answer very carefully, and your answer said that you believe it was Emily's fault.
Right.
I'd like you to tell me why you believe, sir, it's Emily's fault.
Well, the dog had been abused as a puppy, so it was kind of skittish around kids. So what I think happened was she had a stick or something in her hand and was most likely trying to get the dog's attention, so the dog would chase the stick that she was trying to throw for it. So she was probably hitting the dog and screaming it, and the dog freaked out and bit her.
Okay, so let's go back to that. When you got the dog was a year old.
Right.
A year and a half old. And the person from whom you purchased the dog or from whom you got the dog had told you that the dog had been abused as a puppy.
Right.
By children?
By a child, yes.
By a child. Is that the reason that they were getting rid of the dog?
That was the reason why.
So you knew that the dog was skittish around kids?
I'd never seen it, but that's what they have told me.
Then here's my question for you, genius. If you know your dog is skittish around children, how dare you bring an unleashed dog to a picnic where there are children?
I didn't think anything like this would happen.
You didn't think, which means you didn't use your brain. Is that right?
That's right.
So then, why don't you just say, it's my fault and I'm responsible?
It's not.
No, whose fault is it? It's Emily's fault. Emily had prior knowledge that your dog was skittish around children. This 5-year-old had that information? Take your hands out of your pockets. I just asked you a question.
No, the child did not know, but the parent...
Oh, you knew?
I knew.
Right. You knew. So what you're supposed to do is keep a dog like that within your control at all times. Not bring a dog who's been abused by children and skittish around children to a picnic. Because that's the dumbest thing I ever heard. You know, ordinarily, I may not even think that punitive damages are appropriate, but your stupidity is absolutely worth punitive damages. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,000. That's all.
Parties are excused when they step out.
I do kind of feel bad, but I think, a child hitting a dog and stuff like that, just to come.
As I held her lip onto her face on the way to the hospital, I realized that she was going to be scarred, and it hurt very deeply.
He has to wear a muzzle, and he has to be harnessed up now.
I waited to let my emotions out until she was being stitched up, and then I walked out of the room and broke down.
I work with the husband every day. It's hard.
Yeah, it's hard to, hard to look at him, hard to deal with him, due to what happened, someone attacking your little girl.
I don't believe in leashes.
Leashes are definite unless you have your dogs under complete voice control.
Animals are like people too.
I've actually heard hearsay that the dog has done other things since then.
I told me to go. Get this behind us.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Panic versus Burke. Step forward.
20-year-old hairstylist Cynthia Panic is suing her ex-boyfriend, 22-year-old psychiatric technician Brandon Burke, for breaking her computer screen. Brandon says he didn't do it.
Miss Panic, you and Mr. Burke lived together, I assume, for a brief period of time. You told him to move out. When you came home after he moved out, you found that your computer screen was broken. You say that Mr. Burke did it. You want him to pay for it.
Yes, I do.
Mr. Burke says I didn't do it. So tell me what happened on the 31st of March.
We were going to try and resolve issues, and that night I had come home, and he works from 3 to 11, and normally Wednesday nights, which that was, we went to poker night, and I normally meet him up at work. And that night I didn't, and he called me, and I said that I didn't think we should see each other anymore, and that was basically it was over the phone. And
were you living together?
Yeah.
So you were telling him to get out?
Yeah.
And where were you when you had this conversation?
I was out with a friend in a Walmart parking lot. I was on my phone.
And he was where?
He was at work or leaving work.
To go where?
Him? I don't know.
Where did you go?
I went to play poker with my friends.
Instead of going home after work at 11 o'clock, you went out to poker night.
Yes.
And when did you get home?
I got home around 2 a.m., ma'am.
And she wasn't home?
No, she wasn't.
So what did you do?
I called my sister to tell her what happened. My sister showed up at the door, and she came in and talked to me for about 45 minutes.
Yes, ma'am.
And was it your sister who helped you move your things?
It was my sister, her boyfriend, and my brother.
So they all came over very late?
No, they came over that next morning as soon as I woke up.
And when did you come home?
Around 2:30 the next day.
And is this your computer?
This is my computer.
And where is it broken?
It's all like right there. It's all cracked right there, and like all the cracks go down to about there because it's like when a rock hits a windshield, it like shatters. And now all
it was okay the day that you left?
It was okay the night that I left. Yeah.
Did anybody else have access to your apartment?
No.
Well,
Well, is not an answer.
I apologize, ma'am, but I didn't I did not hit the computer. I didn't touch the computer. As soon as I got home, the computer was sitting on my couch that was there. The only contact I've seen that the computer had with the person was when my sister picked it up and set it on the ground. It was there for the next 24 hours until Cynthia got home around 2:30.
Well, you had your brother, and who else?
My sister's boyfriend and my sister, Nick.
So there were several people in the house moving out your things. What kind of things did they move out?
We moved out my couch. We moved out my dining table with the chairs.
The couch that you moved out was the couch where that had been placed?
Yes.
So it is possible that one of the other people who were there moving out furniture could have stepped on it, could have knocked it over. Something could have happened when you were moving out these large pieces of furniture.
Well, it
That's
was
possible.
Yes, ma'am, it's possible. It was in a secure location where we didn't even have to need to maneuver around it to carry it out. And
Well, it would be a fair statement, Mr. Burke, that between the time she left and the computer was okay, and the time that you moved out, something happened to her computer.
Well, it could be possible, but it was closed when I got there, and she's saying that the damage is on the front side of the computer because she said that I punched it out of malice intent.
She doesn't know what happened to it.
Yes, ma'am.
She doesn't know. She wasn't there. Now, I believe her when she says that when she left, the computer was intact.
Yes.
I believe that. And I'm not suggesting that you purposely damaged her computer. However, you invited 3 other people into the house for the purposes of moving furniture. And that damage was caused either by you or by your invited guests into the house. And you are responsible for their actions, since you invited them to help you move. So while I'm not ascribing to you punching the computer, I am ascribing to you the cost of fixing it. Because it was either you or your sister or her boyfriend or your brother who, I know that this is not a word, but I love to use it anyway, vertently or inadvertently damaged her computer. We understand each other, Mr. Burke?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Now, have you gotten an estimate on getting a new screen?
I do.
What's the estimate?
It's $649.99 plus labor, so it's like $750.
Let me see. How much was the computer?
$1,112.11.
Okay. Well, I have $649.99,
It says plus labor on it, though.
but we don't know how much that is, right?
Yeah, but
Did you pay for it?
pay for it to get fixed? No, I haven't.
No, you didn't pay for it. So you don't know how much it is, how much the labor is. You know that it's $649.99, correct?
Correct.
That's all I have. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $649.99. Thank you.
On that, excuse me, step out.
We've had arguments in the past. I punched things. She has punched things.
A lot of jealousy, stuff like that. A lot of fights.
I've flirted with a lot of girls, and she has flirted with a certain individual. It concerned a website that we both was on.
There was a whole thing about him being single, and I said that he was single since this amount of time, and he wasn't single. He was with me, so.
Case 2083, David versus Baroom. All parties, please step forward.
Joseph David is suing his former friend, Jonathan Borum, for podcast equipment.
Mr. David, your claim that the defendant has acoustical equipment that you purchased for what looks to be a joint venture in Mr. Borum's music podcast.
Yes, ma'am.
You were making this music podcast in the basement of your house?
Yes, Your Honor.
Starting in what year?
This year of March.
And Mr. David, you were friends, you knew each other, and you knew he was in this business. I don't know, what is your business?
I deliver bread. I'm a bread vendor.
What kind of interest do you have in music? Because that's what he was doing.
Well, me and Jonathan have known each other for 20 years.
Jonathan and I have known each other.
Jonathan and I have known each other for 20 years, and he's always been in the music scene. He's an artist himself.
Well, that's what I gather. What about you?
I was just a supportive friend in it.
Okay, well, it clearly, you spent some money on music equipment, so it was more than being a supportive friend. If you were just being a supportive friend, then you made a gift to him of this music equipment.
No, ma'am.
You decided you wanted to be part of this music podcast. That's what you said.
Correct.
When did you make that decision?
Sometime mid-June after I had...
June of this year?
This year, correct. I had received a small amount of money, and I was able to...
From where?
A settlement from
From
an
what?
injury, car accident.
Okay, how much did you receive?
A little under 50 grand. And I seen an opportunity for me to invest and help out and help a friend and be able to invest into something that if we blew up one day, I could receive, royalties from and money back in return. And
Oh, did you have a written agreement with him?
We did not have a written agreement.
Well, I'd like to know what the agreement was.
So he was also in the car accident with me as well. And so he's got a settlement coming. He told me, this was all verbal, that once he received that money, he would pay me back at least half of the equipment.
So you would have a joint venture and he would pay you for half the equipment you purchased.
This was at the beginning, correct?
Do you remember, Mr. Borum, that conversation?
No, ma'am, Your Honor.
Were you in the automobile accident with
Yes,
him?
ma'am, Your Honor.
You did not receive a settlement. Is there any reason?
We're still going through the court process.
Okay, so you're going to trial.
Actually, yeah, that's what it was set to go to trial because I didn't get the offer that my lawyer put in. So it's going to trial on my side, but on his behalf.
No, he's already settled his case.
Yeah, mine's not settled yet.
Okay. You indicate what you want is your equipment back.
No, I'd like the money back.
No, well, you get your equipment back if it's yours.
I want the money. I don't trust that he will give me the equipment back in good condition.
Let me explain this to you, Mr. David. If that's what you want, then I'm going to let you withdraw this case and go back to small claims court. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? I'm going to dismiss your case without prejudice, which will allow you to go back to your small claims court, or do you wish to proceed with it today?
I wish to proceed.
Great.
Joseph David claims his former friend, Jonathan Borum, is wrongfully keeping his podcast equipment.
When you decided to enter this, according to you, agreement, that you would be in a joint venture, when he got his money, he would pay in his half of what the equipment costs, which you indicate, I think, is about $4,400.
Correct.
What I gather is there was a session set up that was supposed to take place in your basement.
Yes, ma'am.
And when was that?
I believe it was around like early June-ish.
Okay. And you have proof of the value of the equipment, I assume, and what equipment there is.
Correct.
Is there, Mr. Borum, a dispute about what equipment he purchased?
Is there a dispute? Yes, ma'am.
Because he has a receipt. I just want to know if I have to go into this.
Well, on the receipt, he purchased it on his card, but we're friends. We were going in together, so he bought it on his card because he had the money.
Oh, just a second. I understand that, Mr. Borum. I'm asking you whether there is an agreement as to what the pieces he purchased on his card.
Yes, ma'am. As far as the agreement, I'm not understanding the question.
Okay. What pieces of equipment did he buy that's in your basement?
Cameras.
Camera.
Cords.
Cord.
And probably the Black Magic.
Black Magic?
Black Magic, yes, ma'am. It's a device that works.
Do you know what he's talking about?
I do.
Anything else that's down there that you purchased other than those 3 items?
Yes, ma'am. In total.
What? Shh, look at me. Tell me what else.
In total, there's 2 Panasonic cameras.
Are there 2 cameras that he purchased? 2 cameras.
Can I look down for...
I can't hear you if you're mumbling.
There's lighting, 3 lights. There's
3 lights. Did he purchase 3 lights?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Wireless mics.
How many?
It's a set of 2.
Did he purchase those?
Yes, ma'am. And not to correct you, but we purchased those.
No, you didn't pay for it.
I gave him the money. I gave him cash.
Oh, you did? You're going to show me proof of that in a moment.
Well, I don't have proof that I gave him cash. No, ma'am. Because we were friends, so...
Just a second. Okay. You have no proof? Did he give you cash?
No, ma'am. He never gave me a dollar.
Fine.
Not a penny.
Okay, let's go. We have 3 lights, 2 mics. What else?
HDMI cord.
He has a cord.
Blackmagic A10.
He has that.
256 gigabyte SD card.
What is that?
Memory card.
It's a $50 memory card. It adds up.
Let's go.
The card reader, 20-foot cables, a stencil, and a table.
Just a second. A stencil and a table. Describe that.
It's for the logo that we made for the podcast. I purchased the stencil for the logo.
How much did you pay for that?
Between that and the table is $80.
Let's stay with the big ticket items, sir, Henry.
Adding
Great.
everything.
Okay. Are we finished with the list?
Yep, that's all.
Very good. How much did you pay for these things minus the $50 card in total? Show me.
Minus the $50.
Yeah.
$43.50.
Okay. And all of that is in your basement now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And what happened, according to what I read, there was a music session scheduled. And at the time that there was a music session scheduled, your daughter had COVID.
Yes, ma'am.
She lives on top of the house. Okay. And how old is she?
That was in July. She's 10 months now, so probably about 8 months.
Okay. And she's cared for by both you and your wife. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And I gather, Mr. David, that when you found out that there was COVID in the house, you didn't want to go into the basement.
Correct.
And that was sometime in June.
Correct.
Okay, can you tell me about that conversation?
Well, he told me that she had COVID, and then he said that his fiance may possibly have it, and he may possibly have it. He even took off work, and I filled in for him at work for 3 days because he may have had COVID or not, and he said he wasn't.
Well, he wasn't. He
feeling
didn't want to go in and risk it.
Correct. So I told him I do not want to continue with this interview. He said he would continue on.
You mean
with
the
it.
interview that was supposed to take place in
Correct.
the basement?
Correct.
How much after, Mr. David, did you find out that the infant had COVID and that Mr. Borum and his wife were both exposed? Was the video podcast supposed to be made in the basement?
2-3 days.
Is that correct, Mr. Borum?
From anywhere between 2 to 5 days, ma'am.
And when Mr. David told you he didn't feel comfortable coming into the house, what did you say to him?
I said, okay, I would have someone else fill in his position because I understood why he didn't want to come over.
Okay, and did you have someone fill in his position?
Yes, ma'am.
And then what happened, Mr. Borum?
The episode got done and it wasn't up to par with Joseph's standards. So that's when the argument begun.
Okay, and the argument was what?
The argument was the guy didn't do it right. So it was a lot of bickering. So I told Joe, you know, I just do the editing myself. And he took that as I was cutting him out.
Okay, so he was supposed to do the editing.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and why did you say I'll do the editing myself?
Because he was yelling at me and I told him.
What was he yelling at you?
Because he said that the product wasn't up to par. He said,
Just a second, Mr. Borum, this is your business.
Right.
Will you tell me, did you think the product was up to par?
I did, but I thought it was up to par, but I took his recommendation because I brought him in for production. So I was like, okay, if you don't feel like it's up to par, let's figure it out. But then we kept going back and forth. So at that moment, I was like, you know what? I'll just do it myself so we can stop the confrontation, because you didn't want to tell the guy what he did wrong. So then that's when the argument started, and he thought that I was kicking him out, which I never told him he couldn't come over, never told him he couldn't be a part of anything. I just told him I wasn't going back and forth, because that's why I brought you in for that.
May I see the credit card statement from the purchase of this equipment? And Mr. Borum, I want to see where you took out $2,200 from in cash. I want to see where you took. You said you paid him half.
$2,200. I didn't pay half.
Well, what'd you pay?
I never stated that.
Just shh. If you're partners, that's what you have to pay. How much did you give him?
I gave him money here and there, like on all the.
That doesn't help. That doesn't help me, sir. That doesn't help me. These are bank statements.
I didn't think I had to keep a record if we was best friends for 15 years. That's just.
I can't help you, sir. I can't help you if you say you paid a little bit here and there. I can't help you with that.
Never gave me a dime.
So when you state that if you're a friend, you're doing this to help me out as a gift for what I got going on, and then you try to bring it and take it back from me.
Mr. Borum, how many podcasts have you made since June?
Since June?
Yeah.
I believe we on episode 15, 16, something like that.
15, 16. Successfully.
Yes, ma'am.
And you intend to do this for profit?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you so far seen any profit?
Not as now, because you gotta build up.
Just a second. So not as of yet.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you work?
Yes, ma'am.
Does your wife work?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you have two incomes in the house.
Right.
And this is a side job for you.
Correct.
But you have to buy your own equipment because he's coming to get his equipment. That's going to be the court's order.
So if
it's
I
his equipment.
it's
his equipment. The
so
equipment
he can't gift it to me. That's what he told me he was doing because we was friends, and he appreciated what I was doing.
This is why we're here.
Right.
And now I heard you, and I heard him, and now I'm ruling. I am making an order that he, within 5 days of today, with a marshal or a sheriff, will come and pick up his equipment.
So you giving him my equipment back is tarnishing what I got going on.
I'm giving him his equipment back.
But he never used it, though.
I don't care whether he used it or not. It was a failed business venture where you both expect. Hey, this is not a tea dance. He's getting back his equipment. You and your wife have a side business going. Go buy equipment. Do you understand? 5 days, wait outside. You'll get a copy of my order. You can go get your equipment. Thank you very much.
This court is adjourned.
A 15-year friendship, obviously it don't matter. You know what I'm saying?
Eventually you see the real person in somebody. That's all I can say.
You could be friends with somebody 100 years and they gonna change.
I mean, I thought I had a good friend for a while, but really...
Man, the show gonna go on, man. Hey, y'all know, make sure y'all watch, tune in.
I was just tolerating a really bad person.
I've had understandings with my friends similar to what the plaintiff and defendant has. One of my friends will stay in my apartment from time to time for a few nights, and I always make sure, because you never want a holdover tenant or a friend staying longer than you had anticipated, and I'll text and I'll say, okay, you're good to stay there Thursday and Friday night. Let me know if there's any problems, but you got to be gone by 9 a.m. on Saturday. Just to memorialize the understanding that I think I have, even with friends. It's just always smart to have some sort of record of a business, an understanding, a trade-off. I just think that it's good practice, even if it's just a text, something to memorialize what you believe the understanding to be.
I agree with you. Yeah. And that would make my job easy, but would eliminate this TV program.
Potentially.
Potentially.
David Self is suing his ex-girlfriend, Joangela Stroger, for a phone and gas money.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Case 2087, Self versus Stroger.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Your last name is Self?
That's correct.
There are two parts to your claim. I'm going to get and take your hands out of your pockets.
Sorry about that.
I'm going to get and dismiss one of them and get to the one that is important. You and the defendant were in a dating sort of relationship. That dating relationship sort of continued for a while. At some point, you had an argument and she left you. She stranded you. That was in July of 2022. You say you had an argument, she drove off and she left you stranded. You had to get a hotel for the night. You had to pay a friend for gas money. Blah, 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 blah.
Correct.
Forget that. That's what happens when you have a fight with your girlfriend.
Okay.
You have a fight with your girlfriend. How old are you?
I'm almost 40.
Well, for someone almost 40, they know how to get home.
Correct.
Okay, good. So let's get to what your lawsuit is. It's really about a phone that you say the defendant is responsible for losing or taking.
Okay, can I have video to prove
Taking. And the defendant in some way acknowledges that she disposed of your phone, and she says she had very good cause to dispose of your phone. She's going to tell me why. So I'm going to get some dates from you, Mr. Self, and I'm going to, at the same time, explore what I see is her answer and her counterclaim.
Okay.
Now, after the two of you had broken up, Miss Stroger was at a bar, and she was at a bar on what date?
I would say that would be the 16th. It was actually the 19th.
August 2nd. 8-2. You see how...
She knows better about these dates than I do.
Well, but it's your case.
I understand that.
So let's say she's right, that it happened on August 2nd.
Okay.
And at that time, the two of you were no longer dating or a couple.
Yes.
And you were going to a bar. And when you got there, was the defendant there?
Not that I was aware of at the particular time.
You didn't see her?
I didn't see her, no.
What time did you get to the bar?
I'd say about 4 or 5.
Anybody else at the bar?
There's quite a bit of people there, to be honest.
How many people?
I'd say about 30.
Anybody you knew?
Quite a bit of people.
Of the 30 people there, how many people did you know?
I'd say at least 10.
But you indicate when you got there, you did not see the defendant.
No, I wasn't paying attention to her at the particular time.
Well, you say that there were 30 people in the bar,
Correct.
10 of whom you knew, so you knew some people, and this was a former girlfriend of yours with whom you had been close association and intimate, right?
Correct.
And you didn't see her.
Well, they have a back patio, and then they also have the indoor and everything like that. And then they have a front area, too, as well, so.
Tell me, Mr. Self, when did you in fact see her?
It's when she was doing the bowling. And that was a little bit later on when I was playing pool.
About what time was that?
I don't know, probably like 7 or 8.
So you had been in the bar for between 3 and 4 hours.
Yes.
Okay, so now you're at the bar for 3 or 4 hours. And are your friends there, these 10 people that you knew?
Yes.
Now, I'm going to go back a little bit to the breakup that you two had.
Gotcha.
Was it a mutual breakup?
So what ended up happening and everything like that, we had a disagreement on the 23rd in Norco, and she left me stranded there. So I had to get another friend, give me a ride back to my residence.
I can't understand a word you're saying because you're speaking too fast.
On the 23rd,
Better.
she left me at a barbecue and had a friend give me a ride back to Riverside, California.
A friend who was at the barbecue.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so you were at a barbecue with her,
That's correct.
and that was how far away from where you were living in Riverside?
I'd say about 20 minutes away.
And your friend was at the barbecue, and after you had an argument with her, your friend took you home.
Prior.
No, not prior. Is that what you just said to me?
In Norco, California, is when she left me at a barbecue. And then at the bar, or when we were down in Huntington Beach on the 30th, she left me. I have video that shows all that.
All right. I asked you whether the breakup was acrimonious. So one time she left you at a barbecue where you knew somebody who drove you home.
Correct.
Okay, and you didn't stay in a motel, you didn't do
No, I
anything else.
didn't.
Okay, good. And then she did it again.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying to me?
Yes.
And the second time was when?
It was on the 30th.
Okay. And that is the time when you say you had to spend some time over. So after she left you the second time,
Yes.
is that when you no longer communicated with her?
That's correct.
Did you say, why did you leave me? How dare you leave me? You didn't have any communication by text or phone or anything else, is what I'm asking you.
So her cousin's supposed to play in a band. She showed up late. She was upset and distraught about showing up late.
Who showed up late?
We did, because I was with her.
I just need a date of that.
30th.
sir. I have on the 30th. So she was upset that you showed up late, and
We showed up late to her cousin's thing. They're supposed to be at 2 o'clock. We got there about 2:05. She's upset about that. When we were driving down the road, because we're trying to find parking, which everybody was around and everything, she was getting upset and getting angry with another driver to the point where I had to pull the e-brake to stop the vehicle as I thought she was going to run into it.
And then
I
what
tried to
happened?
de-escalate the situation as much as possible. Mind you, there's 2 minors in the back.
I would just like to know, was the breakup, I'm trying to figure out, was the breakup acrimonious or mutual on the 30th? Who broke up with whom?
She left me.
She left you there
That's correct.
on the 30th. After she left you there on the 30th, did you have any communication with her?
I was done with it.
Just a second. So after the 30th, you didn't see her or communicate with her until you saw her on August 2nd, is what you're saying.
Yes. I didn't see her again.
Didn't see her again or communicate with her from the 30th of
July.
Until August 2nd, a few days later.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
I believe so. I can look at my records right now to see, but I don't believe I gave her a call or anything like that.
Okay. And when you saw her at the bar that you were in, you saw her later between 6 and 7. She was bowling. It's not an answer. The answer is yes.
Yes.
She was bowling. You were playing pool.
Correct.
And what this is about is your phone, which
Yes.
you're missing. So
Yes.
tell me about the phone, sir.
So I have a Note 10 Plus that was behind the bar at the time instead of going to my vehicle, which I typically charge it from that
Just a
point.
second. So you were charging your phone at the bar.
Correct.
When had you put the phone in to charge it?
Later on that evening, around 10, maybe 11, I'm guessing. Because
10 or 11?
I'm
Just a
guessing.
second. 10 or 11. So,
there's a few times I actually go in there, charge it, then I use it for a little bit.
well,
go back
but
there.
you saw it the last time.
I apologize for that.
Last time you saw it, you plugged it in. It was like 10 or 11. So now you've been in the bar from 4 to 10 or 11.
Yes.
And she was there, at least as far as you know, from about 7 to 10 or 11.
Yes.
Keep going.
So I charge it and
What were you doing with the phone all evening?
talking, texting, texting and stuff like that.
Texting.
Communicating, yes.
To whom?
Friends.
Friends.
What's going on, social media, all the good stuff.
Okay, go ahead.
So anyways, I was playing pool. I went outside, had a cigarette, and then that's when she, at 12:33 is when she ended up with her girlfriend looking around and all this other stuff. Like I said before, I have the video that shows that on the camera. Would you like to see it?
So far, I'm not understanding you. So why don't you explain it to me, and then you can show it to me. So far, it's all a jumble. 12:30 at night. You have
12:33 is when she stole the phone.
is when she stole the phone.
That's correct.
And you bought the phone when, sir?
About 2 years ago.
And how much did you pay for it?
I don't know, I think like $800, $700.
Well, this is your case. How am I supposed to figure out you're suing for a phone? that she took? How am I supposed to figure out how much she owes you for the phone if she took it?
I don't know how much I paid for it, but I know it retails for about $1,200.
Show me.
So I got the case cover.
What kind of phone was it?
Note 10 Plus.
The Samsung Galaxy Note 10 Plus is typically $395 to $512.
At this point in time, yes.
Well, that's what it would cost you to replace it.
Okay.
Now, you do not deny that you put your hands on his phone in a manner in which you intended to have it removed from his custody, which means, according to you, you took the phone out of the charger and threw it in the trash or trash someplace. So far, Mr. Self, the defendant acknowledges that she took the phone and trashed it.
All right.
And I want you to make sure that you answer my questions carefully. While you were at the bar between 7 and 12, did you ever show anyone at the bar a photograph of the defendant?
No, I did not.
Now I'll hear you.
So I got to the bar around 8:30 because I played darts that night. I did not see the plaintiff. I was playing bowling. There's an arcade game. And when he came in, he started showing videos of me.
Correct.
Don't speak. There is a protective order in place, and if you want to vacate that protective order because you question service, you better do so. In the meantime, I suggest you stay very, very far away from her.
David Self claims his ex-girlfriend, Joangela Stroger, owes for a phone and gas money. Joangela is countersuing for harassment.
Now, did you see him showing videos of you to anyone at the bar?
I saw him showing videos.
But didn't see what they were?
No.
I would never do such a thing. Apologize.
Could you stand up, please? Do you know Mr. Self?
I do.
Tell me your name.
Amy?
Amy what?
Clack?
Were you at the bar on the 2nd of August?
I was.
And you know the defendant?
Yes, she's a friend of mine.
And what about Mr. Self? How do you know him?
As her ex-boyfriend?
Be careful of what you answer me. Did you see what Mr. Self was showing on his phone?
I did not see what he was showing on his phone. I saw him showing the phone, and I had friends who came up to me to see if I had seen it.
You can't tell me what your friends told you.
Understand.
You can sit down. Now, Ms. Stroger, your answer, and of course your counterclaim, involved the fact that Mr. Self was showing intimate pictures of you that he had maintained on his phone. So far, we don't have a witness to that. So what I want you to tell me is whether or not you personally had a conversation with Mr. Self about those videos on that night on August 2nd.
I asked him not to show video of me around the bar that night.
You did have a conversation with him?
Yeah, because he approached me.
Put your hand down. I want you to tell me about the conversation.
He approached me basically.
I don't want to hear basically.
He approached me
what time?
saying hi about 9:30 that night. Approached me saying hi. I told him I didn't want anything to do with him, that I had seen him showing videos, and that I was told that it was sexual videos of myself.
And what did he say?
He said he can do what he wants with his phone and walked away.
Do you recall that conversation, Mr. Self?
There was no conversation that took place. The only video.
No. Slowly. There was no conversation, that
whatsoever
took place.
that took place about anything like that. What video I did have was her being irate over there in Huntington Beach. So if you'd like to see that too as well.
No, I'd like to see the videos that she says that you have of her on your phone.
I don't have any videos of her like that on my phone.
Did you delete them?
I don't have.
Just oh, he has a new phone. Got it. He has he has a new phone. Well,
I did have a letter stating that he did get the backup and he's got all the videos again.
Oh, I'd like to see that.
I do have a backup.
Just a second.
Okay.
He sent this to my boss at 1:30 in the morning. 2:43, sorry.
Mr. Self, this was sent by you to her boss on the 9th of August.
Okay.
Would you tell me the purpose of sending this letter to her boss?
She does very good at showing that she's a good person and all the other good
No,
stuff.
I don't think, listen to me. I don't necessarily think anything. Okay. I think any woman that allows photographs to be taken of her, intimate photographs that she would not want put on the, I'm speaking that she would not want posted on the front page of a local newspaper. I think that that's foolish.
Yeah.
I do. And I know a lot of people do it. I do a shout out every once in a while and say that that's stupid to do. And I think certainly if you were showing those videos or those photographs to anyone at the bar because you were annoyed with her or whatever, you thought it was fun, I think that that's
childish.
Sad, maybe worse. What I want to know is, after this all happened, why you sent this email to her boss.
Because the thing is this, that she is trying to pin me as a bad guy or something like that, is what she's really trying to do. She's trying to manipulate it to be on her side. She lies and manipulates all the time. And I've seen that because I was with her. I should know. Okay. The thing is this. I have the video of her over there in Huntington Beach being irate, unable to have a conversation.
I don't care if she's irate, sir. Right now, she has no proof that
Correct.
you were showing videos of her at the bar that evening.
Yes.
You don't have that because that's your counterclaim. And if you don't have that, then I have to dismiss your counterclaim.
But there's also harassment and stalking that he's been doing.
Okay, I have to dismiss that part of your counterclaim, which is for revenge porn. Okay, now you're going to tell me about the stalking. And first, I'll take a look at a police report.
The police report, unfortunately.
Just a second. If you don't have it.
I have a restraining order, and the police.
Just a second. Do you have a restraining order that's in effect now?
Yes.
I'd like to take a look at it.
Also, Your Honor, too, I have also.
No, I'm not.
Okay.
I didn't ask you anything. Were you at a hearing, Mr. Self, on this protective order?
I never even got served papers at all for anything.
I have proof of service.
Was there a signature on it?
Well, Mr. Self, she has a restraining order that's, and the hearing date was August 25th, 2022. She appeared. You're supposed to stay away from her. I'm just telling you. And I'm telling you, considering the fact, and I don't know whether you were released from prison recently. Are you still on parole?
I'm on parole now, yes.
Okay. Well, if you're, I didn't ask you anything. Well, if you're on parole, Mr. Self, and you say you weren't served with this restraining order, I would strongly advise her that you retain counsel and question service.
Yeah, I've contacted my probation officer. They're well aware of the situation.
Don't tell me what they're aware of. I'm telling you that there is a protective order in place.
Gotcha.
And if you want to vacate that protective order because you question service of that protective order, you better do so.
Okay.
In the meantime, I suggest you stay very, very far away from her.
He called me yesterday.
I called you yesterday?
Yes. Don't speak to her. Tell me what the conversation was yesterday.
I was on my way to work, and I didn't know the phone number. So I answered it, and he said, please just give me a minute, and I hung up.
Did you call her yesterday from that phone?
There is a phone.
Just a second. That would be a yes.
Yes.
Okay, and you know
I was working
this situation is hostile,
Yes,
and you knew you were coming here today.
that's correct.
Would you tell me, please, why you called her yesterday?
I didn't mean to call her by any means. It's a pocket dialed her.
Well, if it butt called her or pocket dialed her, sir, that means that you were able to transfer all the information that you had on your old phone into your new phone. Because after the experience that you had at the bar, there would be no reason for you to have her number in your phone.
I know.
Unless you just transferred.
I got it right here.
Well, if you got it, listen to me. If you got it right here, then it wasn't a butt call. So you can either butt call when, am I wrong about that? You know, I'm not technically sophisticated, but I do know this. I can't think into my phone. Now, maybe there is a phone that you can think into. I'd say, well, I have her number right here. I can't say, am I missing something here?
You might only butt dial me because I'm in your favorites, but.
Why would you send this to her boss?
It shows that she lies and manipulates and all this other stuff to get her way.
I'm at a point where I don't actually believe that you didn't show some photographs of her around that bar.
David Self is accusing his ex-girlfriend, Joangela Stroger, of throwing away his phone. Joangela is countersuing, claiming David shared private photos of her.
Okay, so you called her. You want to tell me why you called her yesterday?
I accidentally called her
What's her number doing in your phone?
because I keep all the numbers and everything just in case I have to get a hold of somebody. Because you know how many times I've been with her and back and forth, back and forth, back and forth? Yeah. Tons of times. You know what I mean?
You know, something, Mr. Self, I don't believe you, sir.
Okay.
I don't believe you, and I don't believe that there was ever any reason for you to contact her boss. I think she has an order of protection.
Okay.
I'd like to see proof of service. Do you have it?
Yes. Oh, it's not connected with that. I'm sorry. If not, I have a picture of the service in front of his house.
Yeah. Server's name. So it was personal service.
And I do have a video after the fact of what she's talking about, the individual coming to the house. So I
I'm
recorded
just
that.
reading the proof of service, sir. You said you weren't served.
I
I'd like to
was
see proof of service. If you had proof of service, you were served.
I wasn't served.
Okay.
Just because you take a picture in front of the house and everything doesn't necessarily mean anything.
Oh, yeah, it does.
Why is that? I wasn't even at the residence at the time.
They took a picture of me.
Yeah, I would suggest to you, Mr. Self,
Stay away.
if I would suggest to you that hire a lawyer.
Okay.
If you think that the service was improper, I'm satisfied with it, and another judge was satisfied with it, and I still don't understand why you wrote to her boss. Why you wrote to her boss afterwards. Any other communications?
To my boss, yes.
May I see it, please? Well, this is also written on August 9th, sir. This is from you, and it's a very graphic email to her boss. You want to take a look at it?
I do indeed.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to show it to you.
Okay. Thank you. So this is really just stating the individual that they hired,
No, I'm just asking you whether you sent that to her boss.
that is my email address, and that looks
Yes,
like my
so-
writing. That's correct. Or
That's
my-
just- the question is, did you send that to her boss?
Indeed.
Okay. May I have it, please? And that was after the events, a week after the events of the 2nd of August, right?
Okay, yes.
You want to tell me why you sent that to her boss?
Well,
I mean, it's not telling that she's a thief. You have to be careful of her. It's talking about sexual things.
where is it saying sexual things in that?
Oh, very easy. You say she lies to her boss about cramps while we lay in
She
bed.
is literally taking off of work saying that she's, sick or
So I'm asking you why. Why would you send this to her boss?
It shows that she lies and manipulates and all this other stuff to get her way. Okay. The fact of nature, I understand that I've been to prison and all this other stuff. I could be the bad guy and all that great stuff. I understand that.
I'm not saying she's a good person.
Correct.
I'm not saying you're a bad person.
Correct.
She's got to pay for her phone.
Yes.
You got to pay for this. Because I'm at a point where I don't actually believe that you didn't show some photographs of her around that bar. I don't believe that you didn't show some photographs of her around that bar.
I would never do such
Just
a thing.
a second. Well, the same person who would never do such a thing wrote to her boss that you were present when she called her boss and said, I can't come to work because I have cramps, and she was laying in bed with you.
Correct.
Okay? And that same person wouldn't show a picture.
No.
No. Okay. Good. On your counterclaim, I am awarding you $5,000 on your counterclaim. From that, I'm taking off the $500 because he had no right to trash his phone. There are alternatives. One of them is not trashing his phone. Therefore, ordering on the counterclaim a judgment for the defendant in the amount of $4,500. Plaintiff's case is dismissed. We're done. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Honor.
This court is adjourned.
She gets away with it again.
The judge is very fair. Unfortunately, he tried to make me look like the bad guy, but the judge can see right through him.
That showing videos? Yes, why she would be irate over there at Huntington Beach.
That he's showing sexual videos of me and him.
The nudes and all that stuff? No. Why would I do something like that?
I went black, and that's the only reason why I threw the phone in the trash in the first place, because I felt helpless.
She sold me on this great person and everything, but come to find out, you know what? It's not what it is.
I gotta just be more careful with her phone around.
I guess, Sarah, it's because of my generation, but I've been saying for a very long time, even before the internet, because, I was, in fact, young at some point in my life, and they did have all kinds of cameras and Polaroid cameras back in the day, but never take a photograph of yourself or allow a photograph to be taken that you wouldn't like to see on the front page of the New York Times. And now with social media, I think that that's more true than ever. To me, why would you post anything or take a picture, allow a picture to be taken that might later embarrass you?
I agree to an extent, but I disagree with you that in this case, because the defendant mentioned that the plaintiff had taken some of this video and photo without her permission. And I think that now it can get a little bit blurry as to, well, I didn't approve my photo taken. Obviously, a sexually explicit photo getting sent to your boss is not the intended purpose of that photo. I think whoever sends that photo, misdirecting the intention of the photo, is the one that should be held accountable, not the person that was sending it in for a purpose of a long-distance relationship. There's many reasons why now people might send photos that they wouldn't want plastered on the front page of the New York Times. But as the recipient of a photo like that,
you're not supposed to republish
you
it.
have a responsibility, if you care enough about that person, to keep its intended purpose private.
I absolutely agree with you. But it is bad judgment, so I don't mind repeating at least my perspective, which is if you don't want to see it out there, don't take it.
Kelly and Robert Burrows are suing their former friends, Marina and David Quadra, for illegal eviction and property damage.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, everybody.
Hello, Judge. Case 2072, Burrows versus Quadra.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. and Mrs. Quadra, you were living in a home, in a house?
Correct, a townhome.
That you didn't own. And for how long had you been renting that home?
We did not rent out the home.
How long, if you didn't own it, then you were renting it?
We rented it for 2 years, Your Honor.
It gets scarier if you have a fixed position in your head so that you're not listening to my questions. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
When did your lease start?
July 2020.
And when was it to terminate?
It was terminated August 1st, 2022.
And it was terminated by an eviction?
Correct.
And you were evicted because the landlord said that you sublet the apartment to these people and their family?
Correct.
And they were people who you knew, both in the military?
Just him.
What do you do?
I'm a federal employee.
And you?
I'm active duty, ma'am.
But you knew each other from work?
Correct.
Where did you move in August?
National City, Your Honor.
How far is that from your prior residence?
It's about 30 miles south, Your Honor.
Are you in a home that you own or that you rent?
We are still renting.
How much are you paying in rent?
$21.50 a month.
You have a signed lease?
We do.
When did that lease start?
August 1st, 2022.
And why did you choose to live in National City?
It is closer to where he is stationed.
It is also...
Don't speak.
Yes, Your Honor.
How much closer?
To his job.
To his job?
It went from a 30-minute drive to a 15-minute drive.
Okay, so that's better.
Correct.
You were evicted. You were served a notice of eviction on what date?
They let us know a month before August. They gave us a 30-day notice.
Now, Did the plaintiffs have any furniture in the home that you were evicted from?
Prior to us being evicted, yes.
Yes, prior to your being evicted. And what furniture did they have?
2 dressers and a bunk bed.
Anything else?
That's as far as furniture.
And what furniture did you have in there prior to being evicted?
A full living room.
And when did you move that out? On what date?
The 30th of July, 2 days before our moving date.
So you moved out all of your furniture?
Correct.
And how much were you paying in rent in the place from which you were evicted?
$25.95.
Oh, I didn't write that down. How much were you paying in the new place?
The place we're in now, $21.50.
So you're paying less rent?
Correct. It's substantially smaller.
And substantially closer to his place of employment?
Correct.
Good. Now, do you want to tell me your version of how they came to be living in your house?
We received a call one night. It was very late, 10 p.m. Robert was very upset, crying. He had nowhere to go.
He?
Correct. Robert had nowhere to go, and Kelly was asking for a divorce. He asked if he could crash on the couch. We have a toddler at home, so I asked him to sleep in our guest bedroom instead of the couch. He stayed that first original night, and the next day he needed to job hunt as he was jobless. We offered to watch his child. He looked for the job and came home. He asked us if he could stay for a while in that guest bedroom until he got onto his feet with the job. He offered money to just help out with utilities. And
how much?
$1,000.
$1,000 a month?
No, just $1,000. And our words, when he asked, and we asked him, how long do you think it will take you to get on your feet? It was just a couple weeks.
Okay, so he was offering $1,000,
correct,
which was 40% of your rent, to stay for 2 weeks, to stay in your guest bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty decent. Did he give you the $1,000?
He did.
And he gave you the $1,000 on what date?
He gave us the $1,000 on May 29th.
And when did he start staying there?
He started staying with us May 21st.
Then what happened?
He stayed with us for about a week. Everything was okay. He job hunted. I helped with the child. Within this week, he...
Look at me.
I'm sorry. He confided in us that he wanted to work on his marriage with Kelly. He did not want the divorce. It was something that she had asked for. They wanted to work on it together and had asked if Kelly could come around to stay with him and the children and work on their marriage.
When he moved into the guest room, did he take the children? Did he have the children with him?
He did, but it was just on certain nights. They were sharing.
And then he asked if Kelly could come as well.
Correct.
The wife. And what did you say? Why couldn't he go home?
He could not go home due to their relationship with her parents. Their parents.
Oh, she was living with her parents.
Correct.
And they were both living with her parents.
Correct.
So he said, I can't go home. We want to work on the marriage. Could we come and stay here with you?
Correct.
They have 2 kids?
They have 3.
They have 3 kids. And how many dogs?
4.
4 dogs. So far, you get 4 stars if you let her come.
I wish it would have worked that way.
No. You don't understand that that's where I'm at so far.
Yeah, of course.
So now, May 29th, he gives you the $1,000. She moves in when with the dogs?
So we had a long trip planned to Vegas. We let them know that after we had left, she could come stay while we were gone.
What month? June?
June, correct.
How long were you away?
We were away for 5 to 6 days.
Well, what was he going to do when she came there with 4 dogs, 3 kids after 6 days? What was the plan?
This was never a plan of, here's a lease agreement you are going to rent from us. It was just I need somewhere to stay. Can they please come for this short period of time until we figure this out?
Great. Okay, now let me hear your version of the events. When you went to stay there with your children, you were having trouble with your wife.
That's incorrect.
Incorrect. What I said was, because I believe her, I believe that you called her and said exactly what she said. She told me. I mean, I didn't have to have Whitney read it back. I believe that that's what you said. So I don't want to hear baloney about school districts. You were having trouble with your wife.
And later today.
You can't have it both ways.
It's a complicated case.
It's not complicated. It's very simple. You didn't have a written contract. If you had an oral contract, that's one thing.
Kelly and Robert Burrows claim their former friends, Marina and David Quadra, owe for an illegal eviction. Marina and David are countersuing, saying Kelly and Robert caused them to be evicted.
So when you went to their house and you wanted to work on your marriage, you could have gone back to your in-laws.
Yes, that's correct.
You could have. Why didn't you?
The reason why we decided to split up was because we're trying to keep our kids in the same school district. So with having 4 dogs, that's impossible to keep in an HOA. So she decided to go with her parents. I decided to stay back to finish the school year with the kids, still being in May, so they can finish in the same school district. That's why I decided I needed a mailing address so that they could stay in the same school district.
So you mean this discussion that she just said to me about you having problems, marital problems with your wife, that never happened?
Irrelevant. It's just...
That's not what I said. What I said was, because I believe her. I believe that that's what happened. I believe that you called her and said exactly what she said. She told me. I mean, I didn't have to have Whitney read it back. I believe that that's what you said. So I don't want to hear baloney about school districts. You were having trouble with your wife.
No, ma'am.
No.
No.
And you didn't tell her that.
We had been moved out of our old place of 6 years in El Cajon, and we were trying for 6 months to find a new place. So yes, it does put a lot of stress on a relationship, but we did not have any marital...
Mr. Burrows, you know what my strong suit is, and there's no question that the cameras just caught your face. My strong suit is being able to spot a lie from a mile away. And I'm telling you that there's no question that you called her late at night and said, I'm having trouble with my wife. She asked me for a divorce. Can I come and stay with you? There's no question that whether it was true or not, I don't know, because clearly you're a liar. So maybe it wasn't true, but that's what you told her.
Your Honor, may I speak?
You want me to call your parents?
Please do.
Would you like me to call your parents? I'm just asking you, would you like me to call your parents?
No.
Of course not. That's an easy thing for me to do.
Part of what was going on was that we lived in our home for 6 years and the homeowners had moved back in, and so they asked us to leave, and we had been actively searching for a home. So yes, it did put a bit of a strain on our marriage, and I took my dogs with me so that I can keep my operating business at my parents' house because I am a dog boarder, dog sitter, and I did not want to shut my business down. And during this time, tensions, little things happening at my parents' house. So I said, you need to go see if you can rent a room or find somebody that can help you in the meantime till we can actively keep searching for a place for our family. We tried 5 different homes and we didn't.
I don't care. What I said to your husband was he lied to me. Because there's no question that he called, and whether it was true or not, that he said to your friends, I need a place to go. Do you have a place that I could stay on the couch? There's no question he said that to her.
That is true. Yes, that is true.
Okay, well, then I want you to introduce your husband to the truth.
Is it true?
It's something that he hasn't met, because that's not what he told me what happened.
Correct.
So that was a mistake of his. That was a mistake. And you know what happens when you lied to me once? Your case is dismissed. Because what you're suing for is being evicted, and you go, blah, 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 emotional distress. You lie to me once, your case is dismissed. Now, we're going to come over here. You have a counterclaim. Your counterclaim is money owed for property damage and for damages for eviction. Because what happened was your landlord evicted you because she comes with her 4 dogs, 3 gerbils, 2 parakeets to your house, and the owner of your condo doesn't want her any more than the owner of their last condo. Of course. Didn't want them. Got to save you money, buy your own house so you can have as many dogs and parakeets as you like. You moved into a place that's nicer?
Absolutely not.
Tell me what the papers said when your landlord notified you of the eviction. Do you have them?
We do.
I'd like to take a look at them.
Yes, no problem. There was also in that piece of paper a $250 fine through our HOA from the whole commotion that he caused the day of asking them to leave.
Just a second, you were a month-to-month tenant?
Correct.
You didn't have a lease for 2 years. You were a month-to-month tenant.
We had a year lease, and then when the year was up, we moved month to month.
They didn't evict you?
No, they just gave us, they asked
Just a second. Your lawsuit is for damages, punitive damages for an eviction. You weren't evicted.
Well, we were asked to leave if we...
No, they just decided not to renew your month-to-month lease.
Due to the...
I don't care what it was due to. Listen, if I owned a property and you let 3 kids, 4 dogs moved into my condo for 6 days, I wouldn't renew your lease on a month-to-month basis either. I don't care whether they were there for 2 days, 4 days, a week, or a month. You understand?
Understood.
Okay, so there was no eviction. So the punitive damages for that, forget it. Money owed for property damage. When they moved out, what did they damage? And how much did it cost you?
There was a hole in the molding from moving the dressers down our stairs. They bonked it, bringing it out angrily because they were mad that we asked them to leave. We have the letters from our landlord stating everything they had to deduct from our deposit.
Just a second, a hole in the wall. And how much was the hole in the wall?
The molding was...
No, just look at the paper and tell me how much was the hole in the wall.
The painting was $180 and the molding repair was $200.
Now, did you damage the molding when you were moving a dresser out of the house?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, not that you're aware of. You want to try the truth now? Was there a hole that you created moving a dresser out of the house?
When David and I were moving our dresser over the stairs, down the stairs.
Who's David?
The defendant.
So you were moving out the dresser with him? Careful, introducing you to the truth. Did you move the dresser with him?
I did help move the furniture.
Your case is dismissed. The
I would think with yes,
counterclaim likewise is dismissed. We're done. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
I take it as a win. The initial suit was them against us. Their suit got dismissed.
We lost a lot of things and a lot of wages.
That was just us being good friends. We definitely learned our lesson. We will never help another crying husband on our doorstep claiming divorce again.
People that are offering to be nice to you in times of need don't charge you.
They kind of cried, oh, marriage and divorce the whole time, knowing that we're young and married. It's something we take seriously in our lives.
And we're still trying to build our lives back.
I should actually make a party to introduce all those people to Mr. Truth.
I agree. There's a lot of mismatch. Doesn't make sense. If you're going to stay with a friend for a few days, you don't bring a bunk bed and 2 dressers.
No.
I've stayed with friends for a couple days, long weekends. You bring a bag with some clothes.
Even with your kids.
Yeah, you don't bring furniture. You don't bring any of that. So there's a lot of discrepancies.
Things that didn't make sense. If it doesn't make sense, it's usually not true.
Hi guys, get ready with me. It's my birthday. It's my birthday. And we're going to be doing my makeup tutorial because what better moment, what better time to do it, like, you feel me? I started with the Gloomy Lotion in shade medium glow. Then I went with this for contour and concealer. Here's my friend Anelka. I love her. Cream blush, cheek line. Then we're gonna go and setting spray. We're gonna curl our lashes. Guys, my hair is not looking that good. My hair is not really looking that good for my birthday. Like, I've had better days, which is kind of weird, but I'm curling my lashes right now, so yeah. We're gonna go in with Charlotte Tilbury bronzer. The fuck, I was gonna say tanner. The fuck, girl, you crazy? And you're just gonna basically put it on your forehead. Then we're gonna go in with the Krista Benefit blush. Just gonna slide it like that. Okay, that was a lot. I'm gonna be doing more makeup vlogs because I feel like it's so entertaining. Like, honestly, so entertaining. The fork. Setting spray again, and this is the Maybelline Lasting Fix. Yeah, I like it. Do we love the corset? I love it. Now we're gonna go in with the Patrick Ta like palette type shit. What do you think? And yeah, we're gonna use this shade. This one. The key is to put a lot of it on your eyelids. I know, trust the process. It might look a little weird because you're like literally putting white on your eyelid and like that's weird. So yeah, and then you're gonna add some white in here. It's gonna look a bit crazy at first. You're like, what girl? Why are you putting a lot of that? This one, Patrick Ta. Hold on. And yeah, girl. Guys, look at my nails. I like. We're gonna use this Team highlighter stick. I don't know what the fuck. You just put it all over your eyelids, guys. When I say I love like my highlighter, I say wait, what the fuck am I talking about? I'm putting some highlighter. It's from Team. Like, I don't care. Guys, I don't care. It works and it doesn't hurt the make. So it's literally so gorgeous. And yeah. You're gonna look a little bit crazy, but sweet, girl, sweet. We're gonna be using some eyeliner. This one is from like Miss Lynn Black Off. I don't even understand. Got it all over your eyelid. This one is I don't have a filter. I'm just that pretty. You're gonna use the Shigla mascara, the waterproof one, whatever. You're gonna use the lengthening part. I really like it. Are gonna want to start with the end of your lash, and just the end. Once we're done with that, we're gonna be doing our nose contour, and yeah, that's not worry about it. We're gonna do it right now. So you're gonna use this palette. It went through hell, went through war, both of them. And we're gonna use this shade. Alright, so here, and here. And then girl, just blend it. I know. Yeah. And yeah, okay, we're going to use some powder. Wait for that to blend it. Wait a sec. We're just gonna add some powder. We're just wearing not everything that. It's not too bloody. Wipe off the fucking powder. Yeah. We're gonna finish with the last thing for my mascara, which is this part. You want to put the mascara pretty much all over your lash. Then you're just gonna put it like under your lashes, just like that, girl, just like that, okay? And then I'm done. Alright, for some reason the sound is not working, but basically you're just gonna use the same brown eyeshadow under your bottom lashes, and yeah, girly, that's pretty much it. Okay, then. That's pretty much it, but we're gonna do the highlighter. The highlighter, but because we need it. This is for the eyeliner for the nose, using this shade. So I'm gonna use a small little thing. I'm just gonna do that, and just like that, girl. Oh, okay, what the fuck is going on? Oh, girl, I'm back, and then I'm gonna just put a bit more mascara on top because I'm just like that, girl. I'm gonna do that. And yeah, that's my makeup tutorial, girls. My friend is really sick, excuse me, but yeah. If you guys want to send me some free makeup, since I'm now an influencer, please can you guys send me some makeup? I would not say no to that. We're just gonna use some of that Shigla thing in shade High Key. Yo, High Key, this shit is good, man. Absolutely. gloss. Just use one of these gloss, like this NK gloss lip gel thing. It's the best one out there, y'all. I got it from Amazon, and I recommend. They're so good. That's my lip combo for today. And I'm also gonna do some fake freckles, and this then it's gonna be setting spray. So that's pretty much it, girl. Done with the makeup. Now for the jewelry. I'm gonna put all of my jewelry in right now. And yeah, birthday makeup type of shit. It's literally my everyday makeup. That's chill. That's the makeup for today, guys. What the fuck? My nose contour is not really blended, but I'm gonna blend it right now. And yeah.